What a way to start the playoffs. LEC, and just two fantastic teams going toe-to-toe. A surging Fnatic, strongest team in the second half, up against Vitality, constantly touted as underdogs, but never to be underestimated. I'm Daniel Dracos, bringing this series along with Christy Enderfrierson and Indiana FLICKR and Black. I mean, I know you're really right. You're both trying to stay really composed, but we are obviously jumping up and down a lot during that trailer. We're trying to be cool with it right now, but it's exciting. It's hype.
I mean, just listening to that, right? Watching the journeys that these players went through to get here from 2018 to 2019 and the regular season, both of these teams here have something to prove and want to move on. And
it's about grudge match. You know, the fact that Fnatic snap-grabbed Vitality before Schalke and SK was even over. Like, this is who we want to defeat. This is going to be easy. We talked to Whippo all day on EU4. The confidence is so high for Fnatic here.
And of course, speaking of Whippo, as we enter Champion Select, you guys did vote for Whippo to be featured in our POV stream. You can check that out over at twitch.tv/RiotGames2. And in Game 2, we'll have one of the mid laners, and you guys are going to get a chance to vote later in the day. For now, though, Champion Select now stands ahead of us. Both teams getting ready to get on the Rift. In 9-6, a new patch for us. We've seen some of the Academy teams in NA get a chance. Some of the small regions get a chance to take a crack at it. I want to see LEC's take on patch 9.6.
Yeah, the question is, with champions like Kale being buffed and enabled, Sylas returning to the Rift as well, Urgot maybe making an appearance in the jungler, there are so many new options, I feel, for these teams to have practiced during their off week.
There's also the fact that Sona Taric could make a surprise showing here in the playoffs, but I hope that we're not in that world as we enter the first round of
Don't you dare curse the playoffs run already, FLICKR, and let's hope not. But Jace banned out, Draven banned out, Sylas going to follow as well. Of course, re-enabled now this week. So far, no surprises. Really, the first one that's interesting is the Nocturne now coming in.
Yeah, and I think for Fnatic, this is something we see done against Vitality a lot, where you have the strong AD carry laner for Attila, the Draven being banned away, and then these lane-dominant champions for Cabochard being removed. But when you have Vitality on the Rift, you always look towards picks like the Jarvan that they love to flex around and wonder, with that not banned away, how high does a team like Fnatic value taking that away?
And now that we've seen it actually hit the ban bench, I do want to put a magnifying glass over the Hecarim pick. That is a Hecarim top that has been flying around the solo queue. Can be flexed into the jungle, but normally in the top lane, and I expect it to be pick or banned every game this series.
And notice here that Lucian is left up and available. Now, more often than not, when that pick is up and Fnatic are blue side, they look to secure that from Reckless. And now with the Braum being hovered on the other side, Vitality could very easily secure themselves a strong bot lane 2v2.
And a lot of pressure then onto Attila and Jack Troll to make the most out of those priority picks. If it does end up being a Lucian here, Braum, of course, strong in just about any situation, so securing early makes a lot of sense. Jarvan, interestingly enough, a flex pick for Vitality, will be the second lock-in.
What's interesting for me is kind of where these teams put their priority. You already mentioned that Fnatic love to grab a lot of firepower early for Reckless, a lot of lane-dominant champions like that Lucian. On the other side for Vitality, they love using the flex pick of the Jarvan between Cabochard and Mowgli. They will sacrifice almost everything to create a strong side of the map, top side. Whippo said it. If you don't crack under Cabo, you can just win the game against Vitality. But if Cabo has his way with you, there's a reason why he's the most dominant top laner in the LEC.
There absolutely is. And now that we see Fnatic pick up this Lissandra for themselves, something that Vitality often do is save counter pick in mid lane for Jizuke. But we see Lissandra, we're reasonably sure that's going mid lane for Nemesis. I think this is a time for Jizuke to pull out a pick like the Zoe to counter it against.
Don't I hear the crowd go, ooh, Vayne throwing down the gauntlet. I was peeking in at the solo queue. Everyone in the LEC is spamming this champion. Reckless has been driving it home, putting in the time, putting in the numbers on Vayne. He's ready.
And now I just want to see what it's going to look like and how Vitality are going to choose to respond to this. Taliyah now coming in. This is something that we've seen so much in Jizuke solo queue, but we've also seen it in the hands of so many different junglers. It can be that flex pick.
That was the thing. Most recently, RNG's Karsa took Taliyah. They did use it as a flex pick between Xiaohu and Karsa in that jungle position, so still a lot of flex options for Vitality, Jarvan as well as Taliyah. Fnatic don't know for sure where anything is going.
And what this Taliyah picks gives Vitality is something they always look for. It's strong side-laning champions. So this Taliyah, if it does go into the mid lane, has such a strong ability to collapse on a Cabochard lane and get them ahead, or later in the game, go into a side lane and really play this 1-3-1 style.
And I feel like second ban phase for Vitality should be about throwing everything at Whippo. I expect a Renekton and possibly an Aatrox ban to come out because they really want to sculpt that matchup and make sure that they get a winning top side of the map.
And my question now is whether or not Fnatic actually ban the Lucian, because we've seen a couple of times now that bot laners like taking the Vayne into the Lucian, not necessarily because you win in lane, because you don't. Lucian basically wins every single 2 versus 2, but Vayne outscales in the 1v1 matchup and also in the team fight. She's able to output a lot more damage, and with Fnatic looking to focus around the bottom side, I'm not even sure if Vitality want to take an aggressive ADC like the Lucian.
And we'll find out, but for now, Frost, your prediction reigning true, limiting some of those safe blind picks for Bwipo, trying to make sure that these counter picks can find their mark, or rather flex picks can find their mark. That is the Aatrox and the Renekton, both taken off the table.
And then I would hope to see Fnatic ban Zoe here. It's kind of the big other champion that's left open. Or maybe you take a right turn, you go with the Ryze. But with Talia being there as the flex option, it might be forced, like you're saying, to double ban ADC, and that's a right turn.
Yeah, I think Fnatic are expecting the Talia in the mid lane, but even if Talia were to go in jungle, having another AP champion in mid is a lot of AP. That's something we actually see as a problem for teams that run Karthus in the jungle, is when you have too much ability power on your team, tanks on the other side can stack the resistances and give you a better chance in the team fight.
And you can see Attila on your screen talking very heavily with Yamato Cannon behind him, trying to figure out what option he was going to go for. They decide on the safest option, the Lucian Braum. We know how devastating this combo can be in that lane phase, which is why I would love a response of Thresh from Hilly right there. Not only to also have kill pressure if it's a 3v3, those junglers go bottom, but also to keep that Vayne safe.
Now taking his time, though, on the lock-in here. Will it be the Thresh? Will it be the Ornn coming through? But instead, Galio, of course, still a very high priority support pick, but instead it is going to be the Alistar, the last-minute swap over, but this is an old-school kill lane combo. So much CC between these two guys if they can get combo, but going toe-to-toe with another incredibly powerful lane in the Braum Lucian.
And I think Fnatic are realizing that they maybe lack a little bit in terms of hard engage. When you have the Karthus in the jungle, you don't have a lot of those tools. So they have the Lissandra, now they have the Alistar as well to combo up with it, and it's Bwipo going back towards the Gangplank. He played this against Wonder's Ryze in the G2 game, and it went horribly. But Fnatic like this as a safe, flexible option, because remember, you can still flip that around between the Lissandra.
You also have to think that when you have a Gangplank and you have a Karthus, your ability to fight on the map globally is astronomical. If anything ever happens into the bottom lane, both those characters press R, and Rekkles is fighting a 2v4.
Yeah, that ultimate is also just insane initiation from long range. If you just slow people down, you can go flying. Wait a second.
Oh, we talked about it. Cabo Shard, the master of creative picks. It is the return. People want to give credit where it's not due. This is the OG top Lucian right here. Gambit Cabo Shard, alive and well, showing up on this stage today to try to find a win for Vitality.
And let's be very clear, this is a miserable matchup for the Gangplank. Lucian can double tap his barrels. That means in the 1v1, Gangplank will literally never be able to proc his barrel for damage. It's so brutal, and the range advantage, you already saw it with the Ryze versus GP matchup, is so tough to deal with.
And we're going to see that matchup as we get into game, of course, once again. POV perspective for Bwipo, see if he gets to do anything in that lane phase. But now I want to shift our attention back to the compositions.
And I do want to kind of quickly take a moment to say the fact that Vitality are revealing this in game 1. Yes, it could just be a niche counter pick. You're talking about the dynamics with the Gangplank, trying to punish that pick that Fnatic have gone to in the regular season and went back into playoffs. But we talked about this best of 5 strategy. Throw everything out that you know about best 1. This is a completely different ballgame, and already off the bat, they show the trump card. We have the Lucian top. We've prepared it. If it doesn't work, dead in the water in game 1. You're already down. If it does work, suddenly the dynamics of this best of 5 change dramatically.
Vitality have revealed a new pick, but they are not changing their style. This is tried and true Vitality from the regular season. Now, this is one of the most lane-dominant champions we have seen Cabo Shard on, probably the most lane-dominant pick we have seen him on this entire split, and now it is up to him and the rest of Vitality to go up and challenge Fnatic.
What a perfect way, once again, to start off the first LEC playoffs, the first best of 5, Fnatic versus Vitality. Rekkles' Vayne. Got Bwipo on the Gangplank. So many signature picks now coming through as Cabo puts the Lucian into his hands. Who will come out on top? Number 1 question in our mind as we kick off this series.
Pretty clear that the 6th man, the crowd behind the Fnatic fans right now, but we do have a moment we can talk about the level 1s. The analyst desk spoke about it. I know there's a great article on LoL Esports right now that talks about it. Fnatic love to use early level 1, possibly delayed invades to split the map.
Ooh, but Hylissang may be caught out by a level 1 from Vitality. Jizuke Uses the threaded volley, lays down a bit of damage, but it's not going to amount to much.
Now, with Cabochard actually revealing himself on the bottom side of the map, I actually didn't think with this comp, Fnatic could walk in to the top side of Vitality's jungle, but with the Lucian revealing, now it gives them time to put down the vision and set up safety for Bwipo.
And that's the thing, they want to make sure that Gangplank will be undisturbed in this matchup, because while he's going to struggle against Lucian, the way that you make that worse is if you dive the Gangplank, if you're constantly ganking the Gangplank. So it's so important that they're able to get this information to make this pick get to level 6 and to work for them.
Yeah, and one of the things we see Fnatic do actually a whole lot is they try to split the map on their weak side. So they put Broxa over towards the side of Bwipo. Now, in this game, they got the vision, but they don't have the champions to actually fully split the map right down the middle lane. So it's just going to be protection, and Broxa won't be able to do much more than lay down wards, maybe go for a Scuttle Crab, because they lose the 2v2 top lane very hard.
Absolutely, but for now, just still the level 1, Bwipo going to do what he can to pick up the farm. You notice no Kleptomancy in the hands of this Gangplank, grasping and dying, taking the safe route, but Mowgli not interested in playing it safe, instead going for the aggressive invade. Quintessential Mowgli, gets a buff, goes right in to try to stop any action on the top side.
I really love this pathing from Mowgli, and it's something we see from him so often. He takes a very aggressive jungle champion and looks for those small wins, where he invades into the enemy jungle and takes away some camps. He actually counters the wolves, and because Proxa doesn't know that, he's going to be denied that experience when you are on this scaling champion that wants to get the levels and wants to get to level 6.
Yeah, and in tandem, Jizuke was also moving with the invade from Mowgli. He skirted down onto the red buff. He's now placed a ward. So Vitality have full information and eyes on what Broxa is doing with this Karthus pick to open up windows for where Mowgli wants to attack this map.
And as we look at this, we talked a lot about Vitality's perspective, the 1-3-1, what we're used to, what we know them for. But on the opposite side, talking about Fnatic in this early game, what are they trying to get away with? What do they need to do to come out on top?
I mean, you look at their champions, the likes of the Karthus, the likes of the Vayne, the Gangplank. This is all about scaling. So this is Fnatic, at least in game 1, saying, let's have a 5v5 teamfight-oriented composition. Let's make sure that we can just meet them in the late game and blow them up, because we figure if we wait past 25 minutes, it's free win for us against Vitality.
All right, so now I want to take a chance to look at this path. We're actually going to have to put that on pause right here. Oh, just kidding. We're going to be able to look here at Vitality and the pathing from Mowgli. Notice where he is inside of this jungle here from Broxa. All of this early vision now is giving him the tools to go for the double Scuttle Crab. If we notice this, he went for his red buff into the enemy wolves. Those were counter jungled, forced Broxa out of his jungle, and then got both crabs. Now this gives him so much time to go back to his own side of the jungle and just dominate.
Absolutely does, Ender. Now, as we look back at the map, we check in on the rest of the status of the map, you can see how that might start to influence things as we move later into the game. Of course, level 6 for the Karthus, as you mentioned, incredibly crucial.
It basically means, and you can see this reflected in Vitality side lanes, that both Cabochard and Attila and Jacktroll can be super far forward because that safety has been set up. So Fnatic, the plan existed.
Ooh,
Hold
but
on,
now,
sorry.
don't exactly expect a level 3 Karthus gank. Red buff, he's going to have to auto-attack at some point, but just trying to relieve a bit of pressure from Bwipo. Cabochard is unconcerned. He wants the 2v1 if they're willing to commit to it.
And I love that use of phrase, alleviate pressure, because that's what Fnatic want to do. They want to survive the lane phase, but because Mowgli got double scuttle control, things are starting to crack and bleed. And so now, where does Mowgli finally punch that hole through Fnatic's defense?
That's the question here, because right now, Mowgli is still just farming. He's building up a massive CS and gold advantage. He just hasn't gone back to base just yet. So he's sitting on some money. Once he goes back to base, then he can start to look to attack. But I think it relies on Jizuke. When Jizuke hits level 6, they are going to look for an ultimate play around the top side of the map to completely shut down Bwipo.
For now, Broxa doing what he can to keep up, and the bot lane still relatively even. Reckless, generally, you kind of expect to be on the back foot in this lane, just given the raw power of Braum in a lot of these melee matchup. Bazooka potentially in trouble in the mid lane. Karthus now coming in. A lot of immediate CC knocked back there into the Unraveled Earth, but he's now running. Maybe one more is going to land. Jizuke running for his life. He's going to take some footwork. Where's the skill going to go? Not going to connect. Just barely living.
And the flash from Jizuke, he held on to it from so long, knowing exactly how much damage could come through. Got both flashes. Now we see bot.
Vayne, Alistair now looking for a kill. Jacktroll going to try to back off. Has the Unbreakable. One more. He's going to proc the stun. Reckless now going to be in trouble as they continue to extend this trade. The longer the fight goes, the more damage Braum is going to get in. But Hylissang there to body block and immediately action across multiple lanes.
Yeah, Reckless and Hylissang going in there looking for the fight because they saw the mana bars on both Attila and Jacktroll were so low. They ended up getting the worst of the trade overall, but knew they could not fall down there. And all the summoner spells are retained except the additional ones, the Ignite and the Heal from both supports.
But we are starting to get a bit more life from Fnatic in this early game, not just in their individual lanes, but in Broxah getting control of the Scuttle Crab. Now, because they forced Jizuke's flash as well as an early TP, it meant that he wasn't there for mid priority, which means on second rotation of Scuttle spawn, Broxah's actually able to take it because Nemesis was on his wing.
And you have to think that one step further too, like when does Broxah actually gank mid lane? It's right before the Scuttle Crab does spawn, so it forces a reset from Jizuke. So while Vitality have the winning top side of the map, like they slam this, right? Well, they don't actually get to use it because Jizuke was forced back to base. Now it's nice to see Mowgli making a response on the other side of the map.
And a very bold call to go in for the solo Infernal Drake on Jarvan, but Jizuke now moving down, of course, can get spotted out here by this ward. Will make it a little bit awkward. Gonna make it a bit more difficult for Contribute. Now to play acting, he just has to kill the ward and walk away. Wait for that one to die at least before he contributes, so the team doesn't know that this is happening. But the ping's now coming out. They know that they have nothing on that side of the map, so they will just have to give this one up to Mowgli, and he'll just barely survive that exchange.
And look at Vitality, the map control they have at the moment. They get the Infernal Drag on the bottom side while Cabochard invades and puts down Vision. That's going to allow him to play even more aggressive in this lane. But you can see Bwipo, even in losing matchups, still continues to play up. And that's why I was thinking maybe Cabochard can try to exploit this tendency from Bwipo to try and go a little more aggressive in matchups where he really shouldn't.
And when we talked about this matchup from the perspective of Vitality, we said this is all about the top lane. Cabo is the guy that they've been playing through for most of the split. This is what led them to the most success. But is he building a big enough advantage right now in what was a counterpick matchup?
I think it's also about kind of redefining what it means for a Vitality's playstyle. People expect them to still be this very explosive, kill-heavy, fight-heavy team, and while that is true for them kind of in that mid and that late game, early on, it's about small advantages.
Exactly, and it comes down from Mowgli and Cabochard. Mowgli through his counter-jungling, trying to build up CS leads, and Cabochard getting strong matchups where you can build up in these small trades. So you get the CS, you get chunks down onto the enemy tower, and you build up small but sure leads until eventually you hope to reach a critical mass.
Cabochard now just backing off, using the ultimate to disengage. Broxah doesn't want to push any further. Mowgli on the way up, though.
As is Nemesis.
Bwipo, though, still with the flash available. A bit of a difficult spot for them to find themselves in. Now both sides do look like they are going to back off. Mowgli, of course, knowledge of the bush is unwarded. Can continue down. Could look to extend the play, but Bwipo now waiting in the bush. This is a difficult spot for him to be in. Has to be careful. Just a bit of damage laid down by Cabochard. Mowgli not going to push for anything else.
That was very aggressive from Bwipo. I think that there was concern from Fnatic members that they didn't have perfect information about where Jizuke is, and now that he has access to his wall, the fact that even though Nemesis was starting to cheat up, that Taliyah could be there at any time, and it wasn't worth the risk with Broxah so close to level 6.
And while Fnatic maybe didn't know exactly where Jizuke was, I think Vitality are running into some problems with Jizuke, because I constantly see Nemesis with the priority in this middle lane, which is stopping Jizuke from making plays. He's gone for a couple of resets when Mowgli was on the top side, but now finally he is making the move, and with Mowgli, Bwipo really needs to get this base off.
Has to be careful. Getting closer and closer to that point, but the stopwatch still not available. Walling him in. He's not going to be able to escape this one. He's going to try to flash to safety, but the auto connects. Mowgli getting that first blood.
I mean, great play from Vitality, but I really don't know about that flash, Bobo. He looked dead to rights. Even with Broxah sort of waiting behind, you can see how much scaling Fnatic drafted themselves in and how hard that is making it to play around this top side. Vitality saw the crack and broke it.
And now with Vitality in a good position, they have the lead, they have the Infernal Drake in a bigger advantage on top side. Some of that now snowballing into the pockets of Mowgli as he continues the more tanky build for Jarvan. They're in control to dictate the pace of the game, and this is kind of their element. This is what we expect from them when they pick these strong lanes, especially on the top side.
And now you're looking at the refresh of the cooldown from Taliyah wall and about Jizuke and Mowgli moving together to set up plays like this across the rest of the map.
You absolutely are, and I think that it is worth noticing now. Vitality, one of the common criticisms for them throughout the whole split was their bottom lane and maybe dying 2v2 in these matchups, falling behind while the rest of their team was trying to make plays up topside. But it's worth pointing out that Attila is actually leading in CS up against Reckless. Not only are they holding their own, but they're actually laning very, very well here to make sure that Vitality have leads in every single lane.
And the thing that I like is that he's not going for the immediate tier. The God is here to try to get those stacks. He goes for the Sheen so he can contest, so he can match the Vayne in terms of damage output, making use of that last pick that they saved.
And of course, it's less important now that you get the earliest tier possible because there's no longer double tier on Ezreal. So you don't need to stack that up as soon as possible so you can begin stacking your second one. So he's not punished as you would be before for itemizing first into Sheen.
Yeah, and we've seen some AD carry Ezreal sort of go back to the physical damage as Cabo just nukes it.
Yeah, trying to extend that trade, uses the Cutlass for the slow, a few more autos, wants to get forward. Oh, buying a bit more time, but playing that one so well!
No, no, no!
Oh, no! Oh man, baited, outsmarted, so well played.
It was such a bait, but here comes Mowgli, here comes Jackdaw, and the rest of Vitality.
Flashing forward, Mowgli's just gonna move in. He should just be able to take this one down. Bwippo's still alive.
Wait, what?
Bwippo.
Jackdaw?
I'm sorry.
What?
I'm sorry.
No way.
I'm sorry.
No way.
You wanted someone to replace Soaz Fnatic. I think you found it. Why will this man not die? Disaster strikes for Vitality. Bwippo is a monster.
You gotta be kidding me.
I mean, okay, yeah, that was well played from Bwippo, but that was also a massive fumble from Vitality. Huge miscommunication. I don't know what happened. So if Soaz just makes people, you know, disconnect from their headsets, Bwippo's the same guy.
I mean, hopefully we'll get to check that one out again, but Mowgli was running under tower and Jackdaw just sort of pieced out. I was like, I guess you got it, buddy. I mean, we see this initial trade off the bat, and notice it was 10 seconds after minute 10. That meant the stopwatch unlocked here for Bwippo. So while Cabochard wins a 1v1 with the tower and with the global pressure of a Karthus, it just does not work. But the real sort of head scratcher comes with Mowgli and Jackdaw. Watch this. Mowgli goes under tower. Jackdaw's like, yeah, I'll heal you, and then I'll leave.
Now they're going to continue to extend the play, though. They've decided they want a little bit more. Bwippo, no stopwatch left this time. Vitality are fully committed for a little bit of revenge. They will get it that time. Folks, third time is the charm. First two didn't work out. Bwippo says, yeah, okay, I guess. Does go down in the end on that one. So Vitality, while it was a bit unfortunate series of play from their perspective, they do manage to grab the kill on the repeat.
And of course, at this point, Bwippo was saying, you know, I can go down, I'm losing a lot here, I don't have my TP, I'm gonna have to walk all the way back to the lane, I lose the plates, I lose the experience, I lose the gold, but I still have the utility anytime my ultimate is up.
But Fnatic, now seeing that the top side is in a dire position, have decided to commit to the bottom side, willing to give Bwippo up, willing to have him go even further behind to try to get something on the bottom side. But Broxton now has to flash, overstaying his welcome.
This is actually really, really good here from Vitality because the bottom lane's able to stay safe, and with the threat of the Weaver's Wall coming in from Jizuke, Fnatic can't overextend for the dive. While all of that is happening, Mowgli goes for this Herald uncontested, and now I'd love to see him run top lane, place it, and get the full 5 plates before 14 minutes.
I mean, the reality is that this map has collapsed.
Ooh, bit of a miscommunication there. Jackdaw tries to extend the play with the ultimate, but now it looks like Jackdaw could go down here. Miscommunication now costing them. Jackdaw absolutely going to die. They may just fall up immediately. They turn their attention. They use Lissandra ult on the 80 carry, and they make it all too easy. Double dropping for Reckless on the bottom side.
But Fnatic had to force that play. They recognized that the top side of the map completely owned by Vitality. If it didn't work there, they were going to fall further and further behind. So great read on the situation to say, no, 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 force this, give everything to Reckless.
At the same time, it's a huge fumble from Attila and Jackdaw, who, yes, took a good trade in the 2 versus 2, but you have to know Broxa and Nemesis were on the Dragon. They overextended, and that brings us back to sort of the criticisms that we have seen from this 2v2 in the past.
Definitely a question mark moving forward into the game. Cannot afford to not be on the same page in those all-in situations, but the good news is the Herald now used, grabs another 2 plates. Cabo, while he has no mana, remains uncontested on this top side. That's going to be 10 plates now going over if they go for this one, but they're going to opt out. Still massive gold over to Vitality.
I mean, just look at the pressure they have on the top side. Now, there's a line of red wards just seeing every single move that Fnatic make, and this is especially important because Hylissang was actually walking up towards the top side, and that maybe Fnatic were going to punish them if Cabochard overstayed, but they saw the members of Fnatic. Vitality said, we don't need this extra plate, we can back up and stay safe.
And this is kind of the head scratcher for me. As you can see, Jackdaw clearly has the kill in his sights, but they don't respect Hylissang coming in. Attila uncertain if they want to fully commit. And once these major cooldowns have already been built, they don't have any disengage tools left, and there's 4 members of Fnatic here.
I mean, just why are you going for this play? At best, you chunk out Reckless, and then it's harder for Fnatic to dive you if they wanted to bring multiple members down. But Mowgli was on the Herald, Cabochard was top lane, and Jizuke was not close enough to be able to respond.
It's the fact that all you needed to do was absorb the pressure from Fnatic, delay them. Worst case scenario, they get a couple of hits on the tower, but also not the kills in their back pocket when the top side of your map is winning so hard.
Which, to be clear, Attila and Jackdaw, for the first 13 minutes of the game, played absolutely perfectly. They did what they needed to do. They didn't take these over-aggressive trades, and they were winning in CS, but you can see the tides are now turning, and giving Reckless 2 kills on this Vayne that we know spikes so hard on 2 items is going to play so much into Fnatic and the scaling game they're going for.
Absolutely is. A terrifying position to be in, of course, as well as Broxton continues to scale up, getting closer and closer to level 11 and double flat penetration itemization. But on the other side, as you mentioned, top lane, such a hugely strong point right now for the side of Vitality. You see the Kindle Gem Black Cleaver is on the way. Mowgli, though, does now have to back off here, so overall, despite what looks like Vitality kind of dictating the pace for most of this game, Fnatic have been punishing left and right and keeping it still a pretty close game, about a 1K difference between them.
I mean, they're finding their windows where they can get in these quick jabs, but it's still Vitality that have been eating up most of this map, and topside's about to go down. The fact is that with the Bork completed and the Kendall Gem on the way, there's so much safety for Cabochard having the CDR as well as the extra health and infinite sustain to just sit up into this tower. Whippo was never going to move him from that point.
And while Vitality have a lot of advantages right now, specifically around Cabochard, I think we have to talk about how this team actually looks to play games, because this composition and the style Vitality have had all split long is not about, you know, getting to 25 minutes, having a big team fight around the Baron buff, and then winning. Rather, it is about setting up Cabochard to be a strong split pusher, to dominate in the side lane and continually build up an advantage more and more and more until you reach a point on this Lucian where you can just take over a side lane entirely and no one can match you.
But what's really interesting about Fnatic's composition is how it can actually play around a 1-3-1. You know, let's say Vitality get to that point where they've unlocked Cabo, he's in his dueling position, he's a very strong Lucian. It almost doesn't matter who goes against him because you have a Vayne. It's not just about the fact that you have global pressure with a Gangplank ultimate as well as a Karthus ultimate, but also the ability for Reckless to play into a side lane.
Also, it's Reckless with a teleport as well, so we absolutely can match that 1v1 and look for that matchup.
Now trying to punish the Gangplank ult does come out. They're looking for the initiation. Nemesis is going to commit using the snare first. Where's the ultimate going to go? Taliyah Wall now coming in. Fnatic find themselves caught in the middle of the play here. Jizuke now knocked out, but Brox has a lot of damage if they can continue to lock him down. Mowgli now on the retreat, turning back for Hylissang. Hylissang now in trouble, knocked back under the tower. Will they continue the play? No, Vitality get the better. Mowgli wants to re-engage. Beautiful ultimate from Attila. Jack Troll ready to follow up. Now continuing forward. Cabochard off to the side. Here comes the calling, and Fnatic are going to get ripped to pieces if Cabo can get the autos out, but now he's in trouble. He's in the middle of a death Karthus, and here comes the ultimate. How many kills will Brox get? That's one going through. Cabo just barely living. What a bloody fight.
Vitality got the first kill, but they couldn't continue the fight. They have no ability to team fight with this composition. Fnatic were able to stall out, kite back, stay alive for long enough. They were able to turn the fight completely around and try to get this mid tower.
It was also the fact that Reckless was practically untouched for the longest time, sitting on full health. The Vayne eventually just walked through them.
Now sitting at 4-0, should be able to go back to base and pick up the Ginsu's Rage Blade. That means true damage coming in on every other auto attack for this champion.
And this Alienware replay just shows us how intense this game is, how many small mechanical decisions come through.
And initially, I actually had concerns for Fnatic coming into this. They were trying so hard to force, but Hilly just cannot get in range to hit the combo there. He burned his flash last time until he eventually turns and finds Jizuke, and I'm like, oh no, Fnatic, you've overreached, you've extended everything that you wanted.
But now think, where does the damage come from Vitality? Mowgli looks for the initiation, but as soon as he has to flash out of the fight, there's just not enough health bars on the side of Vitality. They have two marksmen, they have a Taliyah as well. They need a frontline if they want to look for this type of fight. And unfortunately, they don't have that ability, so the fact that they got baited into this 5 versus 5 is going to actually set them behind.
Now Fnatic turn their attention to the Ocean Drake. We'll see if Jizuke can do anything to contest it. No, just throws down the wall. It's going to continue to extend the play, though. Looks like they may try to catch someone out. TP coming in from behind, though. Jizuke getting knocked back over the wall. Has to be careful. No flash after the last fight. Whippo's right behind him. It is a split fight, but attention is now shifted towards Reckless. He does get knocked up. Beautiful ulti coming in from Jack Troll. Reckless should drop here. Mowgli does grab the kill, but it is a 1-for-1 in the end. Mid laner for AD carry.
Big shutdown there going on towards Mowgli, and they're the ones with control over this middle lane. They actually have a lot of minions here. If they wanted to, they could try to get some damage down on this tower or just look to steal camps away from Fnatic.
And now as the game reaches what is a very breakneck pace, we will see the Gangplank ult try to slow it down a bit for us, try to stop the Vitality from pushing any further. Now we are letting fans vote on who we follow on our POV stream next game, twitch.tv/RiotGames2. And we're going to be in the mid lane. Who do you want to see? You can spam now in chat Nemesis or Jizuke, depending on whose perspective you want to see as we move into the Baron setup phase currently. And it's hard to say, because on the one hand you have a key initiator, on the other hand you have someone with a wall that can be anywhere on the map. Hard to know for certain.
I think Jizuke is going to be pretty important for Vitality if they want to make it happen. You can see how he uses the wall here to funnel off the rest of Fnatic. And while he gets butted out, has no flash, Reckless was left alone. Everyone on Fnatic's trying to dive on towards Jizuke. So ultimately, it ends up being the shutdown and the worth trade on the side of Vitality after Jack Troll landed a pretty nice ultimate to CC Reckless.
And I know you said this before, Andrew, that Vitality typically don't look for a style where it's one big team fight in front of a Baron, but the Baron is live, and Reckless doesn't have flash. So for the next let's say, a couple of minutes until that flash comes back up, Fnatic will want to be avoiding a lot of fights unless they're just easy picks, waiting for that Vayne's flash, because Jarvan just lands on Reckless. There's nothing he can do. He's just dead.
Yeah, and you asked the question, like, what's better, a team fight comp or a split push comp? And honestly, we've seen so much team fight comps, and I think it's because of the Baron buff. What it sort of acts as is just a giant, center of gravity that pulls everyone in towards it. The second Fnatic send 5 members towards it, Vitality have to respond with 5 members. That means Cabochard cannot be in a side lane, and eventually it's going to come down to a team fight around this Baron rather than Cabochard knocking on towers and getting an eventual inhibitor, which is what they want.
Now the engage is coming through. Jizuke once again caught out. They're trying to find a disengage, but Jizuke just gets absolutely blown up. Nemesis is next, though. Reckless off to the side. Cabo ready to find the fight if he can. It's a split fight overall. Cabo over the wall, a difficult position to be in, but now the ultimate coming in for Broxa. Jack Troll running forward, knowing he's dead anyway, hoping to get concussive blows off. But with another member down, the fight now in favor of Fnatic. 4v3. Both sides going to disengage.
But they've got so much zone control with Bwipo on this gangplank that they're able to just stay on the inside track towards the mid lane tower and get all of the control that they want between mid and that red side Vitality jungle. Place down all the wards, sweep everything out, and again, that big Baron fight, that's about to come.
And it's always going to keep Vitality guessing, because especially when key members like Jizuke do not have the flash, he cannot DPS in these fights. That's 3 times in a row he's been caught out and unable to make a move.
And we had some questions, Hilly was flipping through all these different supports. Am I going to go for the Galio? Am I going to go for the Thresh, the Alistar? One of the signature things that Alistar has with someone like a Lissandre is the snap CC and engagement. Galio takes a wind-up time with the taunt. If you find anyone, instantly Hilly can be on top of them.
Yeah, there's just no counterplay to Jizuke other than don't be in that position. You have to be much further back within the team fight. And once again, with Broxa using the ultimate to finish off members, you can see Vitality, they want to fight with the way they're positioning, but they don't know how to actually approach the 5 versus 5.
And as we move later in the game, it does feel like Fnatic is getting more and more control, and has to be crucial in this game one for Fnatic to come out swinging and come out with a win. Because a lot of people were critical when they snap-picked Vitality, when they could have picked SK, but they didn't wait. They immediately locked in Vitality. They said, we know this team. We do not think that this team can secure a lead as we move into the late game, and this is their opportunity now to prove it here in game 1.
And it just kind of goes back to everything that Bwipo said when we had that sit-down conversation with him, Dracos. If you wait out Vitality 30 minutes, it's free win. He said, I've got the 80 carry Reckless. 80 carry Reckless is also on Vayne of all picks, and it looks like Bwipo's call is coming to fruition.
And now, have to start wondering what the next big explosive fight is going to be, because we've also seen Vitality be a team that managed to pull victory out of the jaws of defeat so often, find these creative ways to find wins, find these crucial picks or fights that can go in their favor, but it only gets harder from here because, once again, the impact of that Karthus in these fights makes them so much harder to play. Jizuke, not on a hyper-mobile champion. Once his flash is gone, he is very vulnerable.
Yet he does have his flash back once again, so it becomes a little bit easier for him to approach these fights. You can see he's actually using the teleport to get back in towards this middle lane, and this plays into the idea that Fnatic just want to suck Vitality into the 5 versus 5 by grouping up and looking for picks, especially around an Ocean Drake that's spawning, or the ever-present Baron Nashor. Vitality are constantly playing this game where they want to go in.
We're trying to find the engage. Jack Troll here for the follow-up. They have to be careful though. Unbreakable already used. Attila off to the side. Nemesis looking for the re-engage. They're now backing off. Bwipo has used the ultimate. Ultimate now coming in for Karthus. That's going to be 2 quick kills. Hylissang going to keep the ball rolling. Double dropping for Broxa. They want one more. Hylissang flashing forward. Looking for that auto. Will not be able to grab it, but the ultimate is there from Nemesis. The engage is clean. It will keep the fight going. A beautiful turn from Fnatic.
And Fnatic can run straight towards the Baron now. Mowgli's going to be dead for another 20 seconds. Brox's actually going to be spending some time starting up this Ocean Drake. Doesn't seem like they want to push the envelope too much, but Hylissang is on the way. Do they just want to take both at the same time?
They have so much time, Ender, and so much confidence that they are unconcerned. Remember, that is a 2-item Vayne. Every 2 hits is the true damage proccing on this Baron. It is just going to shred right through.
And it's the fact that Bwipo has already kind of herded the rest of Vitality like cats towards the complete opposite side. They know that they've got a massive death timer on Mowgli, and Bwipo had full eyes where everyone else for Vitality was.
Yeah, Bwipo, by the way, who got counterpicked miserably, got hard camped by Mowgli and Jizuke, and is still keeping relevant inside of this game. It is now him with pressure in the side lane. Cabochard really struggling to get anything done anymore.
And Jizuke's face said it all in that replay as we take another look at this one. At this point, the flash is just about to come back up for Reckless, so Fnatic are saying, let's go. We can force this fight. We can capitalize on this.
And this is a point in the game where Vitality need to better understand how their composition can actually pull off a win, because because I do not think that a 5 versus 5 is ever winnable for them in this game. They need Cabochard in a side lane. They need the Talia and the Lucian trying to take down towers, but they haven't even gotten the bot lane outer yet.
But frankly, Andrew, this is why I kind of think this is like 4D chess from Fnatic. Because it's Karthus, Gangplank, and Vayne, the lane assignments just aren't there for Vitality. I actually think this is almost an unwinnable game at this point, because who are you going to send out in those side lanes that Fnatic can't deal with?
And who are you going to send when Broxa is getting closer and closer to level 16, has double flat pen items, a 10-stack Dark Seal, and a Rabadon's Death Cap? Who has enough of a health pool to survive that? It's Mowgli. Mowgli can't split push, he doesn't have any damage.
I feel like every single player on the side of Fnatic played the same, like they had the same story in this game where it's like, you know, get bullied around early, Bwipo lost lane, Brox was getting invaded by Mowgli, but eventually just do way more damage than you. And with the scaling of literally every single champion on Fnatic's side, it becomes so easy for them to look for the plays and look to close it out.
See a lot of damage getting put down onto Nemesis, but the Gangplank ult just forcing Jizuke even further back as this tower is now set to fall. Bwipo trying to retreat on the bottom side. It's going to take a lot of resources if they want to extend this one. Concussive Blow is not going to be cleansed away by the orange, however, but no follow-up here. Tolo walking face first in the jungle. Has to be careful, but not concerned. Knows it's just Hylissang. Hylissang maybe overstaying his welcome. Aftershock now procced. He is going to get knocked back. Beautiful use of the Blast Cone. That's going to be a free pick. Will Nemesis try to extend? Will just back off, so that is a small consolation prize to the side of Vitality.
I don't know about that one, Hylissang. That seemed pretty troll to me. He's literally just running into the Ezreal. I mean, he's buying space. He got his team a tower on the top side.
You know, he's pretty far ahead. I think he thought, like, I have the fear factor on my side, because if anyone else is here, they die instantly.
No,
but,
he was like, I've got the Blast Cone on my side, except surprise, you're against Talia, who is now returned on 9.6 with the changes to Dematerializer that allow her to clear waves and compete with wave control.
And kill Alistairs who are trying to Blast Cone out
That's
of the jungle.
important.
It was a nice flick from Jizuke to say, come back.
Yeah, he did time it very well, and honestly, it's hard to get away from an Ezreal with the red buff, but Hylissang probably just needs to pop the ultimate a little bit sooner.
Give me this.
And, but wait, where am I going?
That's the problem when people don't build attack speed Alistair. Your attack speed or attack animation is too slow, and you can't Blast Cone out to safety.
I think there are a lot of members of Fnatic really close to him as well, and he was probably calling, oh, I can get out, no problem, I have Blast Cone. And they're like, okay, we'll farm Raptors, we'll push top lane, get the tower, and he got left out to dry.
Or they're like, Hylissang, you did it again. We can't just let you get out of this one. And he's not afraid, though. Despite that, remains completely unconcerned, has the Hex Flash available, has the ultimate available once again. And you can tell that Fnatic dominating in every lane, pushing every lane out at this stage, and ready to just kind of threatening Vitality, saying, come at us. Try to start a fight. See what happens.
I mean, Vitality, are they looking for like the miracle throw from Fnatic right here? Maybe they just find someone out of position, snap, blow them up. Or at this point, you're trying to stall out the game long enough while everyone in comms is like, okay, what happens for game number 2?
Yeah, I mean, we all remember Fnatic versus G2, right? They had an early game advantage, and they overstepped their boundaries. They dove an inhibitor tower, and that gave G2 the opportunity to sort of claw their way back into the game. And while I think Fnatic had time to sort of learn and recoup from that match, Vitality definitely need that type of thing to happen again.
The unfortunate thing is that they don't have a lot of options on this composition for any sort of late game damage, especially because double tier Ezreal doesn't exist anymore. You can see his build right now, Muramana, Iceborne, this is kind of your core, and then from here, pros are kind of split. Either you go warp, hold it,
or you go in on Hylissang as it is now the turn. You do see the ultimate coming into the Gangplank as well. Hylissang now set the bomb. Nemesis is off to the side, ready to lock down Attila. Attila immediately flashes out. Mowgli now on the retreat. Eyes on Broxa. Is the Requiem going to come down? Mowgli incredibly low, but I don't know if he's low enough. Broxa opts not to pull the trigger yet.
And Cabochard was in bottom lane that entire time. They didn't have the damage, the extra damage coming from him. Still a decent fight from them, but they lost both flashes on their bottom laners. Fnatic didn't lose too many summoners.
This is going to be a tough spot to be in. Reckless now moving in.
The
rest of Fnatic ready for the collapse. Got 2 champions with dashes. They're going to have to commit something to find a kill here. Nemesis would have to flash, but there's a blast cone as well, so it will be the disengage.
Just take the Infernal, Fnatic. It's free.
And Triple Ocean, too. Where in that situation where Mowgli maybe gets a little bit of damage down, maybe gets 1 or 2 cooldowns, Fnatic are just full health again next time you want to fight.
Okay, but back to Ezreal right now. So he's in 2 places. Your core is Iceborne and Muramana, and then you either have to choose. You either go the Hextech Gunblade or you go for your Blade of the Rune King. I like the emphasis on kind of the AP burst by taking Sorcerer Shoes, and personally, I feel that Hextech feels a lot better because you still kind of have that assassination potential.
Yeah, there's also some fun things with a Hextech as well, where you get extra healing from both your W and your E. Those are the magic damage spells that typically you don't get out of the Blade of the Ruined King. But this is the traditional Ezreal build that was sort of the stock
Blue
standard.
Ezreal.
It was was the Blue Ezreal standard up until, you know, about a year ago when that double tier build was first introduced. So it's what Attila is comfortable with and what he's going to be hoping he can try to contest Fnatic with.
And it means you have so much kite potential as well as the ability to fight front to back. And that's what we saw kind of in the last team fight from Vitality, that between the Ezreal and the Taliyah, they're still able to put down great chip damage. But the issue is that there's just so much hard engage from Fnatic's composition. So as long as Vitality can survive that, maybe they whittle their way, weasel back into this game. But if that hard engage ever finds them, they're done.
Yeah, flashes are absolutely important. Jizuke actually using the Unsealed Spellbook to switch over to Cleanse as well to keep himself safe against the initiation of Nemesis. He did just finish the Rabadon's Death Cap as well. It's probably the best spike you can look for, but Hillsing on the flank.
On the flank now, looking for the fight, looking for the engage. Is going to use the Righteous Glory now, leaping forward, wants to knock Attila right back into the team, and the follow-up is there immediately. Reckless is just going to tear through them. The double for the Vayne. Reckless wants to keep it going, has to be careful. Flashes forward, unconcerned. Out comes the Requiem. Bye-bye to Jizuke. That's another one dropped. Mowgli running for his life now as well. Ulti still connects as well. The animation was already finished. Mowgli now set to fall. Another kill dropping for Fnatic.
And the hard engage found Vitality, which means it's not only going to be the Baron, but surely the game at this point. Fnatic have everything, including coming up to a 10k gold lead.
Yeah, Fnatic, they're duoing the Baron while the other 3 members, because everyone stayed alive on their side, are still going to be pushing up. Cabochard couldn't TP into that fight. He was recalling in bottom lane when Fnatic found their mark, and 2 inhibitors will surely fall.
And Hillsang has been fishing for that flank for at least 5 minutes now. He finally finds it, and the game is just now set to end. 2 inhibitors dropping. They can look to turn the fight onto Nemesis, but the rest of Fnatic now set up to collapse. Hillsang ready for one more headbutt pulverize. But instead, they set their sights on the inhibitor and they retreat. With 2 down, though, without a composition that does well in these fights, you have to feel like Vitality are just planning for game 2.
Or gonna TP in and try. This is the last-ditch effort. They must make a play like this. But it's a Taliyah on the flank, and she's gonna set up the wall.
Oh no.
Hillsang's here.
Oh no.
Bye-bye.
Oh,
wait a second.
Jizuke, I believe, has finished the death cap now. That is one terrifying Taliyah. We have hit the late game status, but no one else is here. He's trying desperately to run. Does manage to get a bit of damage down, but only a mid laner killed. Huge commit, but honestly, really no other options were left.
Yeah, exactly. Hero attempt from Jizuke right there. Not only that, but just puts, I think it was Nemesis, into the ground.
Yeah, just instantly blew him up. You can see the flank from Hillsang. Watch how he holds onto his spells. It's a Q flash for the knock-up onto Attila, so he can headbutt him into the face of Reckless. Reckless, like, sneezes on him. The Ezreal instantly dies, and then Broxa participates in this fight with the 1 button.
And this is something that we do need to talk about, though, because Fnatic have been kind of stuck in this area where they're just finding the big fights, and when they do find them, they win. It still is relatively difficult to siege with how short range they have if Nemesis isn't there. They need that Lissandra to approach towers and to threaten to kick down. So the Baron was very important for this composition to get to this point on the map where it's just the Nexus towers and bot towers standing for Vitality.
And they were facing that lull, but now that they've broken the base, they have 2 inhibitors down. It becomes a cakewalk here for Fnatic. They're grouping up with 4 members in the bottom lane while Bwipo escorts the wave in mid, keeping the Baron buff on top of it. So it takes 4 members of Vitality to even try to clear this one away. And as this wave crashes in, Fnatic can look for the tower or maybe just the hard engage.
Ulti comes down for the gang, playing just slow and steady is the name of the game. Hillsang stepping forward, threatening. Everyone knows that headbutt pulverize hits, you die. That is the name of the game right now. One final desperate team fight is all that's left for Vitality. Maybe, just maybe, they can extend the game a little bit longer. But it is definitely in Fnatic in absolute control. With the cannon minions here, you have to feel like it is just a matter of time. Vitality needs to start a fight or just end the game on the side of Fnatic. Super's pushing in on the top side as well. It doesn't feel like there's a lot of avenues left.
Hillsang bringing the minions up towards the tower. Fnatic are saying, come to us or your base will be destroyed. They hit the tower once, it falls, and Vitality have nothing left to save them.
Taking their time, Jizuke off to the side, looking for the wall, looking to split up the team at least a little bit, hoping to find that perfect angle, hoping to split up the team. Reckless off on his lonesome, off to the side. They're now kicking the fight off. Reckless is not in the fight. That could be an issue stepping forward. Cabo leaping into Broxa. Broxa is so incredibly low, but does have the ultimate available. If he gets killed, he will still be able to full channel the ult, but Fnatic, they are simply too far ahead in this game. They set their sights on the Nexus, and they're going to take game 1.
Fnatic called the bluff of Vitality. They said, sure, you can play the strong top side of the map. Sure, you can play the strong early game, but if there's something we know how to play, it is the team fight phase. It is the scaling picks on their side. They did not allow Vitality to get a large enough lead, and they're able to make it look easy once Baron rolled around.
I mean, the first 3 picks said it all. Karthus, Lissandra, and Vayne. These champions had a very clear setup. The zone control for the Vayne, it was going to be about Reckless. It was going to be sitting back and kind of waiting out these big late game scaling options.
And a departure from what we saw a lot in the second half of the season from Fnatic, where they built these massive leads in the earliest portions of the game, where it was clever jungle pathing that led to massive lane leads that extended, you know, these huge advantages, and now they were willing to take a backseat. They had these lanes that were in difficult positions, but when push came to shove, they just out-executed in the mid to late game.
Yeah, I mean, we know that being able to show multiple styles gives you such an edge when it comes to playoffs, when you have to play these best of 5s, and you have to ask the questions, is this the right choice for the team we are facing? Fnatic absolutely looked like they had the right read on this game, whereas Vitality, with the 1-3-1 comp, the Lucian, did not seem like they knew what was going on at all.
And the terrifying thing is Vitality have shown kind of 2 aces that they had. The Taliyah pick coming back, a signature for Jizuke, and then as well as the Lucian to try to figure out what was going to happen with that GP. Now that it's failed, you know, where does the option come from in the draft phase? Do Vitality have anything else left?
And momentum in best of 5s is always so important. You want to be that team that's winning the game, because then there's no pressure on you to change. Fnatic could try to get the same exact thing in the next draft, and they would be incredibly happy.
Fnatic don't have to change anything. That's the nature of winning game 1, especially in these types of mind games. They didn't try to play for the lane phase, you know, they didn't even really get their early invade. It was just a neutral map. They managed to survive the lane phase and won anyway. Fnatic just run it back the same way until they force you to change.
Yeah, Fnatic are in a great spot, and for Vitality, the question becomes, yes, we revealed some picks, but more importantly, I think it's that they revealed that they're still playing the style that was working for them for a long time, but towards the second half of the split, no longer was. And that's going to be a real issue for them if they can't execute on the strong solo lane picks to get away.
And that brings us back to something Deficio said on the desk, which he says, hey, I think this is a Fnatic win, but if Vitality are going to win, how's it going to happen? It's a single style. It's unique picks that Fnatic aren't ready for. Single style, unique picks, bad news. The third portion of that, Fnatic were ready for them. Fnatic did not, you know, drop at the sight of new picks that we've seen like Taliyah and the Lucian in the top lane, and it leaves you wondering what else is left in the tank for Vitality. That's the question on our minds, because the reigning champions are looking to make a statement here in round 1. We'll see if they can take us to match point when we return. Thank you, Shocks. Of course, if you are a Vitality fan, you have to hope so, because while everything did go right in the early game, we saw Deficient and Shocks talk about it, there were those slip-ups, those individual mistakes that turned against them so quickly, and Fnatic just does not feel like a team that you can give a gold lead to and expect to come back against.
I mean, also, it seems to be that Fnatic have Vitality's number, and they recognize that they're a team that even if they get these incremental advantages in the early game, they're unable to snowball and to close with it.
Yeah, and I think that you look at those mistakes, and they definitely sped up the process for Fnatic, but even without those missteps, I'm not sure if Fnatic or Vitality are actually able to use that early game lead and snowball to a victory. I think Fnatic had the idea of just sucking Vitality into these 5v5s, and in that sort of scenario, Vitality just were not well equipped to win.
Which is why I really want to see a change-up. Like, I don't mind Vitality's style of playing the 1-3-1. That's what they've been practicing with. That's what they should, don't reinvent the wheel when you get into playoffs, but they do need to take more consideration into how they want to coordinate team fights. If you know a team like Fnatic has a strong team fighting history, you need to at least think about that when you're organizing these compositions. Play something that isn't like a Lucian, can still have that power in the dueling phase, but also brings utility in team fight presence.
I like that. I'm also going to hit you with a simple one. Ban the Karthus. It just makes every fight harder to play. It makes 1-3-1ing more difficult. It is a nightmare champion to play against. And clearly, while we may have thought that Broxa was the key to the Fnatic early game, he can just AFK for the lane phase and everything will be fine on that champion as long as he gets a few items under his belt. Now, we enter picks and bans for Game 2. C, or we'll enter shortly. We're going to see what the adaptation is. Will it be an adaptation for Cabochard? Will we see something completely new for Vitality? A lot of questions to be answered.
And reminder, it is Fnatic again on the blue side. Their previous 3 bans were Draven, Jace, and Hecarim. Vitality's previous 3 bans were Sylas, Nocturne, and Rakan. We'll see if anything changes, and so far, it looks exactly the same.
And in the past, we used to have 1-3-5 for side selection, 2 and 4. Now the losing team picks their side. So Vitality have opted into this red side now, have opted to go once again for these potential counter picks for Cabochard on the top side.
And now banning away the Vayne, making sure Reckless, who got so many kills in the early and the mid game, cannot be on that champion. I think a Karthus could very well follow. Instead, it is the Rakan. So you expect now the Karthus still being the primary first pick because Broxa looked so dominant on it.
Absolutely, but still hovering, the Kai says they did last time, kind of teasing us. And now it's going to be locked in once again. So surprised to see that one go through. However, you have to feel like Vitality must have a plan to adjust, or are they going to go for the salty run back? This is a classic. They might just try the same draft again.
Well, I think they're going to run back the start of it, but I think the big change that I would like to see Vitality make, Frost, you pointed on it earlier, get something that is lane dominant for Cabochard, but also has a big output in the team fight. I think that this Jarvan very well could be looking to go up into the top lane because the Lucian will not be played again.
Yeah, I agree. And if Lucian is grabbed here, I think it will be by Attila, and it'll be a Lucian Braum bot lane. So I think there's emphasis that now that Fnatic don't have access to a Vayne, to grab it here.
What is the option going to be? What are they going to opt to go for? Of course, the Rakan banned away as well. Does make the Xayah a little bit less appealing, as we have seen that champion rising in priority recently on 9-6. But a lot of questions here. This is at least one change that will be forced in the draft. And I imagine maybe we don't see the priority on Reckless, and it looks like instead Bwipo's blind pick Aatrox will be locked in. Yeah, and this is the Aatrox that was banned in the second rotation from Vitality in the last game. So because Fnatic see the Vayne banned away, they say, okay, we don't have any AD carries that are still that high priority. Let's get something here for Bwipo that's not the gangplank. Bwipo wants some more firepower in the top lane.
And I think it's about the mind games here, because we talked about how, there's probably going to be a pick for Cabo where he wants to have that side lane pressure, but also the teamfight utility. If you see the Aatrox locked into the Jarvan, that dissuades Cabo from looking for that matchup, which is why now suddenly you see the reach for Kennen.
And really, this is exactly what we wanted to see. You wanted a pick that can build a lead in the lane phase and then can heavily impact team fights, and that is AP top lane Kennen to a T. I love this pick here from Cabochard. Jarvan can give so much support to a Kennen in the laning phase to try and bully out the Aatrox in that match. But of course, the team fight is going to be very deadly. So while last game we were looking at Vitality to never group up as 5, this is a team that can use the pressure of a Kennen in a side lane to push the wave and then collapse and look for the team fight.
But it's still the same core identity, at least with these 3 picks just on the board. You want to make sure that Cabo is the beneficiary of a lot of your resources, a lot of your attention, because we've seen Odoamne how potent and powerful an AP snowballed Kennen can be in both team fights and a side lane.
It can be so hard to deal with if you are a team like Fnatic, but they have Aatrox in the top lane. So while last game it was Vitality making mistakes and giving over kills when they dove Bwipo up topside. Now, post level 6, it becomes near impossible to actually single out that champion.
Going to be very difficult. See what the options are. Alistar taken away. Rise going to follow. Now the Sivir as well. So taking away some of the late game win conditions that Fnatic might try to bring to the table. Of course, last time we saw a Tristana banned away on the side of Fnatic. Can't imagine we'll see it banned again. Is it something that could potentially go into the hands of Reckless?
Now, I really like these bans here from Vitality because when you see these first 3 champions from Fnatic, you say, hey, they don't have a whole lot of hard engage. Right now, their best option is Lissandra coming in on a flank and trying to isolate a member on the backline. Fnatic, a Sivir could have been great for them. Now they really need Hylissang to carry a lot of weight with his pick. Whether it's something like the Galio or perhaps the Thresh, it's going to be very important that he can start these fights off for Fnatic.
Galio seems like the easiest option here, and I really like the fact that Attila with the Lucian also banned, because if Lucian's not banned right here, he's fine taking the Lucian Braum, and you expect that it's going to be the Tristana. By Fnatic banning the Lucian and Attila denying the Tristana away from Reckless, how deep is he going to go? Is this going to be a Xayah? Is this going to be a Jinx?
And one thing that I love for the side of Vitality is that while Attila does not have the safety of the Ezreal, there is now more late game insurance. You have the Kennen who's better in team fights. You have now not an Ezreal in the hands of your bot laner, so you could, in theory, match toe-to-toe late game in the team fights, but Reckless is responding with firepower of his own in the Kai'Sa.
Kai'Sa, maybe a Thresh alongside it as well. I do think it's very important to point out that when Fnatic are bringing one primary engaged champion, because Thresh isn't going to do it, it's just the Lissandra, having the Tristana is so powerful. Having that one button that can knock the Lissandra out of the fight, can buy space for your backline, is going to give Vitality a fighting chance here.
And frankly, unless Reckless really performs on this Kai'Sa pick, I feel like this was a big miss to not grab something like a Xayah. You are against a Jarvan. Xayah has so much protection if you see that they're all going to go in and try to dive on back to you. So Reckless needs to be picture perfect on this Kai'Sa.
And here's the Zoe from Jizuke. I asked for it in Game 1's draft. This is one of his favorite champions in the mid lane, and it's so good at looking for engagements, whether it's on a single target or just a bubble from long range going through a really fat wall. Vitality, they heard the criticism. They said, we can't play the super split push style. We are going to group up. We're going to have so many more tools to find fights, and this is going to put them in a much better position.
And it does feel like it keeps some of that core identity of having that stronger top side, saving that counter pick for Cabochard. But on the opposite side, a lot of changes coming in on the side of Fnatic. A safe blind pick for Bwipo once again. This time something a little more powerful than a Gangplank. But once again, my eyes just go back to Reckless on this Kai'Sa. And I have to think how much pressure is on him to perform in what is going to be a very difficult match.
Going to be so huge for him here. Reckless did so much work in the last game on the Vayne. Now with things changing on the other side, with so much dive coming his way, he will have to step up on the side of Fnatic, and it hasn't been hard for him in the second half of the split or in Game 1. This man has been on a roll, and now Fnatic, with a 9-game winning streak, do not want to stop.
One of the cool things about Kai'Sa, though, is, again, if we talk about how Fnatic's compositions kind of have these blueprints of being able to play out into a side lane. So the idea is, if Vitality do get their style, if they do play solo side laners, things like a Vayne can also duel out into a side lane. Things like a Kai'Sa can also swing out with a W.
And I'm going to have to cut you out there, Frostgarden, because we do have Lore standing by with Vitality's coach, and we'll see what he has to say about the series so far.
Welcome to Summoner's Rift. "30 seconds until minions spawn."
That's a throwback. What's the secret, Yamato? What's it gonna be? For now, the secret is Cabo running forward, proccing that Klepto. No bag of gold, sadly, would have been a nice way to start this game. But once again, level 1, an explosive part of the game for both these teams.
And while it's usually Fnatic making the level 1 moves, my eyes were on Vitality. Look at this. Cabochard, the #1 top laner in the spring regular season, voted #1 for the first all-pro team. It's Cabochard, and he's in a position now to try and carry his team with both a champion that can fight in lane and in the fights.
Yeah, frankly, I put Cabochard as my MVP. I know a lot of people will grab someone like Caps, but I just felt that Cabo had, let's say, different tools to work with than the likes of Caps to have a very superstar performance.
And now, of course, the pressure just continues to mount on him, because while Vitality have drafted more tools, more late-game insurance, let's call it, it's also still Cabo in what should be a winning matchup for him, where he is expected to get a lead, because we know what happens with the team fighting Kennen when he gets behind. It's not a very strong pick.
No, it's definitely not fun. I think it is worth pointing out here the sort of dynamics of this top lane with their rune choices. Because on the side of Fnatic, Bwipo is going for the Arcane Comet on Aatrox, which isn't something you always see, but is very good specifically up against Kennen. Because Kennen's biggest weakness in top lane is he has no form of innate sustain. And that's what makes rune choices like the Kleptomancy, where he can get some extra potions, as well as the Domination Tree, where he will go Taste of Blood and Ravenous Hunter, become so powerful. Because on this Kennen pick, you are constantly tanking minion aggro, because you're walking up, you're auto-attacking to proc the Klepto, and that's going to chunk you out in lane. With the survivability tools, he's going to be in a much better spot.
But now we see a departure from what was the game one strategy. They think they're safe. They think no one's going to come. They think it's just going to be topside, but they're oh so wrong. Reckless trying to make it out to safety. He can't click the lantern, and that's first blood taken out for Vitality.
And that is a combo that Vitality know how it works, because Fnatic were the ones that made it. This is the Tristana Braum, the ability to immediately proc the Winter's Bright, to jump on top of someone at level 2 and just nuke someone down. Mowgli didn't even have to be there.
It's just a beautiful play on so many different levels. It's Attila taking the jump at level 1, and it's Mowgli changing his path. He went from red buff straight to bottom side, and now with Jizuke, they're trying to punish Broxo, who's trying to counter jungle up here.
Brox's going to be in a tough spot. He's going to be sleepy. He has to be dead. There's literally no way out here. Beautiful start for Vitality. They were strong in game 1. They're looking even stronger in the early game.
It's
game 2.
Such a good early game play here, and it's Mowgli. And this is the secret. I've got to say, this is the secret that Yamato Cannon was telling him before the game started. He's off to a great start.
And it's ingenious pathing from Mowgli. The fact that Broxa just saw that Mowgli was bottom, the mentality is like, I can walk into this guy's Raptors camp. This is free. I'll at least get to trade back some sort of experience. But Mowgli just hoofs it across back to find Broxa on Raptor camp and gets a free pickup.
And honestly, we look across the board, this is exactly the kind of turnaround, exactly the kind of start that Vitality needed coming into game 2, and we can take a look back at some of this action as it played out. We'll hold that thought for a second, though. Jactrell now moving down for a little bit of vision, and Fnatic very wary now, you can tell. Suddenly worried about the rinse and repeat, but Mowgli has returned to the top side of the map.
I like what Jactrell is doing here with the very deep vision to make sure that they can catch Broxa at any point. The game plan seems to be that we are going to find Broxa at every turn as we take another look at that replay.
And it's just such a good start, because it's Jizuke flashing forward for the immediate Winter's Bite, and Attila with the W at level 1. They're maybe even looking for more kills, because if you get the first blood, that's going to reset. And I think the pathing was super important as well, because it was Mowgli going straight red buff on top side to the bottom lane, and Broxa, who changed his pathing initially. Last game he started blue buff, got invaded on. This time he went to red buff to go topside, was nowhere near to try to react.
And of course, as we look across the game, wondering where the next point of action is going to be, as it has already been incredibly explosive. 1K gold lead 5 minutes in. This is what we expected from Fnatic in the second half of the split, but this time around it's Vitality with the big lead, and Broxa not spotting that ward is going to be crucial as they move forward. Mowgli will have perfect information on his jungle pathing.
It opens up the options for Mowgli about where he wants to attack next or where he wants to farm next, and he actually pinged Broxa. He's sprinting towards this Karthus.
Yeah, he can just run on in here now. Teleport's going to dissuade him. There's also a ward that Mowgli was walking over, but I think it is worth calling out that this is a Mowgli playing for the bottom side of the map now. I believe Fnatic would have seen him EQ in towards the pit, and without mid lane priority, this is going to be a bit of a risky move here from Mowgli. He's going to have to leave.
And to be fair, they did this in the previous game, and it feels like this time around, Broxa was ready for it. Last time it was an Infernal, and Mowgli was able to sneak it away. This time with the Ocean, it's not going to happen. But Jizuke heading down, ready to get something kicked off. As Jactrell steps forward, trying to extend this play here. The leap forward, one more auto. Attila going for these big trades on the bottom side, trying to extend a bit of an advantage here. Mowgli now moving down. 3v3, but both sides are just going to back off.
It almost looked like disaster. I kind of held my breath for a moment because I was like, oh no, Attila and Jactrell, they know that Fnatic are on the bottom side. Why are they overreaching here again? But Mowgli smartly covered for them, also cheating down, denying Broxa the reach around to land the wall of pain, and Attila and Jactrell still in safety.
Yeah, Attila gonna get hooked up here. Hill is saying, will he pull the trigger? With Broxa waiting in the wings, they're looking for the counter gank.
Trying to keep it going, looking to stack some concussive blows, but immediately the TP's coming back. Fnatic classic. Jactrell now in trouble, is all but set to die. Bwipo now stepping forward. Can he get out of the chains? Does manage to step away. Jactrell just barely maybe gonna be able to live, but the flash forward. Broxa gonna be able to grab it in the end.
It's a beautiful punish from Fnatic to have Broxa waiting there, to have the TP come in from Bwipo, but also a massive mistake from the side of Vitality. Cabochard had just reset and used his own teleport to get back into the lane. Bwipo had his up, so Vitality only ever had the opportunity to have 3 members in the bottom lane, where Fnatic, they brought 4.
And it just has to be said that there just seems to be a desync between Vitality's bot lane and the rest of the map. This is time and time again that Jack Troll and Attila are the breaking point for Vitality, not just in this playoff series, but in the regular split.
And you can feel the momentum off of this play as well, because they have Mowgli hop over the wall. They think, we can get reckless. We can make this play happen, but there's a TP coming in. And again, no cannon on the back half. So Bwipo's able to bring enough CC here to lock down Jack Troll and finish him off for a kill on towards Broxah, who we know completely dominated Vitality in Game 1.
And it's frankly a double-edged sword. You know, we're excited to see the Vitality are diversifying themselves, that they're playing around the bottom side, that they threw down the gauntlet and said, I've got your pick Reckless, and now I'm going to play through the bottom lane. But Attila just cannot make it happen for his team.
Ooh, and this is going to be a difficult spot for Bwipo to find himself in. The stun not going to connect from Cabo in the end, but trading the ultimate for very little there. Flash as well, still down for Bwipo. So in the end, a favorable trade for Cabo Shard in terms of summoner spells, but obviously health very much in favor of Bwipo.
And Cabo Shard, of course, going to have a CS lead, and now Bwipo with no flash and no ult, and the wave pushing against him at the time being, that's just a little, that's brutal. He's able to check it. He knows he lands the W. The Arcane Comment as well, in case he's not able to figure that out. No, it's still really hard for him to see us up here in this lane. I wonder what the response is from Fnatic on the other side, because they don't actually have any play to go on because both bot lanes just reset.
Yeah, Mowgli's about 75% to level 6, so he'd have to sit around for quite a few minions sharing the experience, so rightfully just kind of backs away from that one.
And laning against Bwipo, it feels like always just comes with a tent. If you want to shut down Fnatic, it feels like so often that is the name of the game, and especially on the side of Vitality. For now, Cabo is building that excellent early CS advantage that we expect from him in this winning matchup, and Mowgli going to make sure that some tower plays are going to go in his favor as well.
Now, what Mowgli is doing might look crazy to some because he's staying around top lane for so long, but they have such good vision control on the bottom side. He knows there was no counterplay coming in on this side of the map, so they're trying to completely zone Bwipo off the tower, not go for the dive because that's still a little bit risky, but it leaves their bottom lane with some risk of their own if Nemesis finds a rotation down for the dive.
It's also the fact that it's an Ocean Drake, and now that you see that Nemesis is making that dive, that you're still dealing with both summoners on Jack Troll and Attila having access to the flashes, and then it's a Tristana and it's a Braum. So like Deficio was saying, step 1, back away from the tower. Step 2, make sure that you get something else on the top side of the map.
So we see a complete trade here because it was Vitality that zoned Bwipo off the tower for about a wave and a half up top side. The same thing just happened towards Attila and Jack Troll on the bottom half of things, but you have to wonder, like, what is better, to have an Aatrox down in CS or an AD carry Tristana down in CS? And I think that's going to put Attila at somewhat of a rough spot here as Reckless cashes in on both minions as well as these plates.
And there's no Herald here. So we are just seeing the Ocean Drake being given over for free. That's going to make a lot of these lanes a lot easier for Fnatic to jungle, especially Brock's in a position where he can donate future blue buffs because that Ocean will keep him topped up in the jungle, keep him clearing quick. So a difficult spot to be in, because for top lane, especially when you're living on that island, Bwipo having that extra regen is frustrating, but now potentially overextending as they're going to try to get the play started. Will the ulti even come out? Bwipo just going to get taken down instantly.
Mowgli has been up here for the last 2.5 minutes. It's just a ridiculous tent that's been set up. If I'm Bwipo, I'm probably like, he's still here, honestly?
Yeah, I mean, it's a huge investment of time on the side of Mowgli, and Bwipo, ultimately, he does have to farm. He's going to be knocked down quite a bit, but this is what the turnaround now for Vitality, because they were sort of losing when it was going even with the denial of the Aatrox to the Tristana. I think Fnatic had the edge. Now that Mowgli got the kill up top lane and is looking for this Herald as well, that's going to give Vitality the tools now to try and knock down some more towers.
And honestly, perfectly timed then in the end to get this play in their favor, but Fnatic looking to respond with something of their own on the bottom side. A few more tower plates, a bit more gold into the pocket of Reckless and Hylissang, and getting this Kai'Sa rolling. Of course, you know, 2 items, a very strong spike for Kai'Sa still if she wants to go for the full evolution route.
And notice now how Fnatic are actually moving around the map, because it's no longer Broxah and Nemesis coming towards bottom lane, because I don't think they are fully confident in pulling off a dive themselves. Instead, it is Broxah just hard clearing his jungle, trying to get as much golden experience as he possibly can, while Nemesis, when he pushes out the wave and has nothing he can pick up, walks bottom lane and tries to deny away from Attila. So it's Fnatic now, with the knowledge that Mowgli is always topside, really just min-maxing what they can gain on the map.
And constantly threatening this bottom side. You can see Fog of War, not a lot of information for Vitality. They can make some guesses, they can make some assumptions, but it's a consistent commitment of 4 members to the bottom side, and with 1 tower plate standing, well, 1.5 here. It looks like Fnatic will just be able to barrel down and take out this tower. And getting this tower first before the cannon is going to put Vitality in a bit of a difficult spot.
Especially because, as we keep kind of asking this question, what's better, the Aatrox being behind or the Tristana being behind? It's 3 items versus 2, but Whippo in mid.
Well, that thought Whippo has now used the ultimate. It's going to be a sleepy Aatrox. They're going to try to burn through here. Resurrection coming out. Will be able to walk away safely. So had the ultimate, had that get out of jail free card, will not be punished.
But back to the point, it's this idea that in both Fnatic's compositions, by taking a Kai'Sa and a Vayne, not only do you have late game scaling potential, but you have champions that spike very hard off of 2 items, whereas Attila will never have that luxury. So if you look at the likes of the Aatrox, of the Kai'Sa, even of the Karthus, yes, this team can hyperscale and win past 30 minutes no matter what, but at 2 items, they are so powerful.
Yeah, I think the top side of the map for Vitality is well equipped to sort of battle at that same point, but no, the Tristana really does need to wait for that 3rd item so you can hit 75% crit chance, really make the most out of that Infinity Edge. And now it's 3 members on the bottom side, and once again, Whippo being bullied just a little bit.
And this swap does mean that we're going to see some priority on the top lane for Fnatic. Kennen, of course, going to struggle if 2 members do appear there. Going to have to be willing to commit to a big play, but it's just tower plating for now for the side of Vitality. But this wave will start to disappear, and as it does, Whippo does not hesitate to go back in. Jack Troll pull back. Whippo's been getting a lot away with a lot of dirty plays this game, and it looks like this game will be no exception.
For real, man. Whippo is literally one thing, does not have the World Ender, by the way, is walking up, clearing the waves, and Vitality are like, I guess we just let him do it and lose our own tower at the same time.
This guy is, I don't want to say lucky, but just teams lose their minds when they approach Whippo.
Your absolute overwhelming desire to dive this man blinds you. Now there's a TP. Oh,
really?
Guys, leave Whippo alone. And it looks like Vitality, realizing that their only play here is to fully commit to the bottom side. You can see Reckless on the top side. Fnatic are going to have the tempo advantage, no doubt. But it's a desperate TP to try to get something back on the side of Vitality. But this is going to be their first tower of the game, as they haven't been able to get anything else. And Fnatic, this is their second.
On the other side of the map, Jizuke has completely run himself out of mana, and there are 3 members of Fnatic in the mid lane. Oh, wait, what?
That tower's still there. They've lost control of the bottom lane. They've lost control of the top lane.
They're gonna get it eventually, Frosk. Don't you worry. But it takes so long.
Okay.
This is actually disaster, because the thing is like you were saying, Jizuke was out of mana because he was just trying to hold the fort on the mid lane tower. That now is taken down to about half health. Nemesis is probably going to clear this wave and reset himself, but Fnatic now can just 5-man mid lane and shove this down.
Exactly. You hear me and Frost sort of losing our minds about not being able to take that tower fastly in the bottom lane.
It delays so many backs.
Exactly. It's about the timing plays here, because Fnatic are able to sort of get back onto the map a little bit quicker. Jizuke still hasn't reset as well, and the only tower Fnatic have yet to take is this mid lane hour, which is already at 50% HP. So now Jizuke has the blue buff, can hopefully try to clear away these waves, but those are the things that have to be running through the minds of Fnatic, because this is a team that is so good at using advantages, finding windows, and that's what the timing gives them.
And you can see on the bottom there that the plates taken is actually very similar. The difference is that all of the plates are very focused for Fnatic. That's 2 towers down, only to the 1 on the side of Vitality, so they're going to get a lot more map control there. And now it just feels like we're once again in a situation where, yes, Cabo feels pretty comfortable on a side lane. Yes, Jizuke seems okay, but that bot lane is just going to struggle as we move further into the game.
Now, here's the thing, though, is we've been fairly critical, I think, of Vitality so far in this early game, but it's a different story when it comes to the team play than Game 1, because Game 1, Fnatic had the scaling, they had the team fight, Vitality had nothing. Oh, boy.
Hold on.
He's going to get out scot-free, but the difference is now Vitality are the ones with the...
What? Jizuke! What? Did you forget about the... They always forget about the Karthus, ladies and gentlemen. You have 200, 300 less health than you think you do, and that means that Brox is just going to grab a kill.
And these are these uncharacteristic mistakes that you can just not make against one of our top teams like Fnatic. You know, if Jizuke survives there and he's able to wave clear, you're delaying a little bit more. I'm like, you know, the issue with Fnatic's comp is they don't have the hard engage if Nemesis isn't also helping them push that mid lane. Zoe able to absorb 3 people's pressure and stalled out for Vitality, but he's caught. He's chipped away. He makes a mistake.
I think it's the pressure of the moment here for Vitality, because we've seen it from their bottom lane, their mid lane, mistakes that they just should not be making. This is a playoff caliber team. This team should come into this match and be able to contest, but all of a sudden, it's these moves that you don't expect to see out of this squad, and it has to be the moment where they know they're 1 game down. They just made a couple of misplays. It felt like Fnatic had more control over the map, when in reality, this is the game now where Vitality can play the waiting game a little little bit. Tristana is one of the best AD carries in the late game. The range she has is so powerful. They have teamfight tools. Just don't go in 1v5.
Have to be careful about the risk that they are going to take. What options they are going to go for. Nemesis throwing the claw over, threatening Vitality, and you will see Attila revealed now in the mid lane. We check in on the itemization, though. You talk about stalling for the late game. We expect 3 items on Attila if you're on the stall for the late game plan. On the opposite side, we already mentioned it for Reckless. 2 items is the name of the game for that Kai'Sa. Of course, the Ginsus and the Stormrazor here. So not too far off that point, and that's a terrifying spot to be in. Unless, of course, Jizuke decides to one-shot him. But Hylissang is there to block him out. He's not going to get knocked out.
Yeah, they've got Cabo rotating over.
Yeah, Cabo is here. Vitality, they want to 5-man and knock down this tower. And with Fnatic split up in side lanes, they don't have the numbers to be able to contest.
Hylissang looking for the hook. Not going to find it there in the end. Reckless will move back to the mid lane. Of course, Bwipo free in the side lane, though, to continue pressuring in. It is now 3 towers to 3. Vitality doing a good job of evening things up. And Jizuke, it feels like some of these bubbles must just be a point and click.
Jizuke, definitely one of the better Zoe players here in the LEC. But I really do like what I'm seeing now from Vitality and how they're playing their side lanes. Because last game, it was sort of a battle of attrition where they had to constantly just, have Lucian in the side lane, push up, try to take towers, which they could not do. Now it is very different. Vitality are pushing the side lanes and using the responsive Fnatic, where Bwipo and Nemesis have to go to the sides and pick up waves to attack in the mid lane. And while it's not a team fight this time around, it is a tower which will later transition into Vitality looking for the engagements.
Hold on, Bwipo, maybe a 2v1.
Of course, have to be careful here as this has turned against Vitality once or twice already. But Bwipo now, I think, willing to take the fight here. If his ultimate does fall off, he's going to find himself in a tough position. Now stepping forward, realizing that he may have overstayed, but the auto attack actually going to proc it, so he get his health back.
This is real
now
bad for Vitality.
Over, Reckless on the way up. All it's going to take is a little bit of CC, and Kai'Sa's going to come flying in, and there it is! Reckless on cleanup duty. 2 kills instantly picked up. Vitality once again overextend.
Attila just needed to wait half a second there, just a little bit more time before he could knock down Bwipo without giving him the full revive. But it's never a true 2 versus 1 with a Karthus in the game, and with Fnatic reacting on the other side of the map. Off of the back of that play, again, Vitality overcommitting for these small skirmishes. They lose 2 members, they're going to lose a tower in the mid lane, and full pressure on the map.
The flash play, Jizuke now trying to sidestep his way out of there, but Brock's on a killing spree, now locked up Mowgli. Oh no, he's just going to get taken down once again. Reckless grabbing the kill as well, and instantly a massive gold lead in the favor of Fnatic. 3K, almost 4K in their favor.
From bad to worse for Vitality fans right there. It's the fact, again, these very small mistakes they make, someone overstaying on the top side of the map. It's the fact that not only do Fnatic punish the overextension, but they've already got another wave prepared where Nemesis is like, guys, just rotate very quickly to mid lane. If anyone overstays, we pull the trigger. Haley looks for the flank. Suddenly 2 more members are dead, and the tower is gone for free. And Bwipo, hey guys, if you want to rotate top, I've also fed this wave in.
It's just falling apart across the board here for Vitality. And if you look at the gold, you see, where did these teams invest their resources early on? Well, on one side, it's Reckless with a 2K gold lead. On the other side of the map in the top lane, it's Cabochard with a massive advantage as well. But we just saw Bwipo, even down in gold, is holding his own in the 1 versus 2, and Reckless is scaling into this Kai'Sa monster in the late game. Let's check it out one more time in style, because again, look at the bar underneath Bwipo's HP. Once that times out, it goes red. That means it's low. Attila just has to finish him off.
I'm not even going to say anything for that one.
Bye-bye.
One man got deleted. That's really all that it is at the end of the day. Reckless continuing to just be where he needs to be with the rest of the team. It's so easy for Fnatic to play this one out. They have a lot of mobility across all these champions to find these picks.
I mean, at this point, Fnatic are just sharks. They smell blood in the water. They're hunting Vitality and tearing them apart.
And really, I think you just always have to give respect to this Fnatic lineup, because you just... First half of the season, everyone, I think, thought that they were done. But the way that they have turned it around in the second half has been immaculate, and they just continue to prove, of course, on a 9-game winning streak after that last game, will move up to 10 if they win here, and they are looking pretty unstoppable.
And the thing is you expect, it doesn't matter. Fnatic, they're a very veteran team. They don't necessarily need a streak behind them to find momentum. For Vitality, this is a huge momentum-based team. This is still a very young squad, coming into their 2019 season of the LEC and going down 2 games. I mean, for me, that's like, this is going to be a 3-0. If Vitality lose here, I don't know where they find the fire, where they find the fuel.
Yeah, it's scary too, because Vitality, they had the momentum at the start of this game, right? It was Mowgli's, creative jungle pathing to get them such a big lead in that bottom lane, but then they face plant, right? They were going too fast. They just skidded off the rails, and now down 4,000 gold. Yes, they have the hope of a perfect team fight on the horizon, but with the way Fnatic have been playing and with the way they have been controlling the map thus far, it doesn't feel like they're giving any room for Vitality to sort of retake parts of the area.
And this was something that when we went back and watched the tape from Vitality versus Fnatic the first 2 times, it was always the fact that even when Fnatic lost, they felt like they were being the ones that were dictating tempo and pace. And outside of a very impressive early game from Vitality, they've just been reactive to Fnatic.
Ooh, and now I think you're kind of just waiting with bated breath. Of course, 2 items now coming in for Attila. The 3rd item going to be crucial if they want to go later into the game. And it's not a last game. There is a lot more options once again for the side of Vitality, but Nemesis clearly out for blood. The Cloud Drake going to make it that much easier to close the distance. Nemesis ready to go in. You can see Jack Troll now in trouble, trying to retreat with the Unbreakable. Jizuke stepping forward, but taking so much damage in return. Bwipo ready to fire there, but they're not going to be able to grab any kills. Still a lot of pressure. I take that back. We're going to wait and see. Where's it going to go?
Oh, my word. Now look at Fnatic. They're going to go over here towards the Baron. I think it's just 22 minutes into the game, but that ult did so much damage, Jizuke had to go back to base. Now he does have the teleport, so he can get back here on towards the map, but Vitality, they're going to have to check in.
And all eyes need to be on Mowgli. Doesn't have access to the flash, doesn't have access to the blast cone. He needs to flag and drag into this pit if he wants a chance.
Ooh, they're going to get a little bit of sight there with Redemption. 2K, Fnatic now retreating, not willing to take the risk. Mowgli stepping forward, though. They're immediately going to try to turn on him. But we're not going to be able to find the second stack of the Darkened Blade. They will force Fnatic off of the Baron for now. Vitality, are they going to look for the fight here? Big risk, but they might be willing to take it.
Yes, because they have Cabo Shard, who's level 14. Finally, the Kennen is actually grouped up with Vitality, so Vitality feels so confident right now.
Vitality also have minions here in the mid lane. They're trying to siege down under this tower. This is a very brief window of time where Vitality have control over the map because of the mistake. Go Cabo!
Oh! Immediately, Cabo trying to leap in. Brock's not going to get taken down, though. Cabo goes golden, but in the middle of the team, there's no ultimate available. He's just going to get taken out. Meanwhile, on the backside, Attila gets 1, going to try to find 2, but the stopwatch is there for Bwipo. And they're going to back off, instantly turned back. Now, Fnatic overstay for the Baron, but it's Vitality who overstay in mid lane.
Vitality, they had the window, but they went way too far.
Reckless on a rampage, instant TP into that pit, and it is Jizuke versus the world.
Jizuke, you're going to get spotted out, buddy. You're in some trouble.
Sidestep there, Sleepy Trouble Bubble Hill saying the hook not going to connect. Bwipo now chasing him down. World Ender going to make him so incredibly fast. Jizuke just trying to buy time, just trying to stall, just trying to get anything done here, but there's so much damage going to be laid down on this Baron between the Kai'Sa and, of course, the Karthus as well.
Yeah, Jizuke thinks, hey, if I pull the 80 carry off the Baron, they can't take it, but there's still a Karthus inside of this pit, so at just 24 minutes, Fnatic will claim that objective. They're looking to go up 2-0. They're looking to carry all the momentum into Game 3.
And things looked so good for Vitality for a split second. It looked like hope had been reignited for this team. You know, Cabo finally grouped up with them, had the level advantage. He's been sitting off in these side lanes, just kind of doing his own thing. He's gonna get the massive Kennen ultimate. But read like a book. Fnatic just absorb the pressure, they back up, and eventually just turn it around as soon as Vitality overbite.
And look, it looks like a pretty good slicing Maelstrom. You know, he caught a lot of people inside of it, but he's between 2 towers, and the rest of his team could not follow up with any damage. The team fight ended up being relatively easy for Fnatic, and now with Reckless sitting on 3 of his core items, the static shift as well, we see one more time. The initial engage from Jack Troll did not hit, and then Cabo Shard goes way too deep. CC'd under tower. The front line of Vitality has no HP to stand up.
And really, it was just a trade of engages there. The Lissandra went forward and stopped Vitality from pushing any further. The Kennen went forward on the opposite side. The difference is Fnatic are way in the lead. So after the Lissandra's dead, they've still got a ton left in the tank.
Not only that, but Fnatic's composition are also strong right now. There's still so much wind-up time for Vitality. So again, it goes back to this point. It just feels that Fnatic have Vitality's number. They know exactly how they want to play this series, and they're just 40 chess every single time.
Ooh, Nemesis could use the Proto Belt to dodge the knockup, but still, the ultimate is there. He's now running for his life, and he will make it out. Flash is forced in the end, however.
It's about the best thing they could get in this situation, but you got 5 people towards the bottom side of the map. Reckless just needs a few seconds with this tower to knock it down. And Vitality, they need to find an engagement, it feels like, around one of these towers, because if they don't, Fnatic have the tools, just split up the map, knock down these towers, and win without a fight.
And we're here once again. We were here last game where we said the miracle fight for Vitality is what it's going to take for them to find a way back in the game. And we've said it before, and I'll say it one more time. They have the tools to do it. But it is still, feels like a nigh impossible task. It's a 10K gold lead this time around, an even bigger lead for Fnatic here in Game 2. And this Kai'Sa is terrifying. Broxa is once again at that murder Karthus point, where his ulti is going to take half of someone's health away.
And if you talk about items, this is the second game in a row that Nemesis on Lissandra has gone for the Mejai Stole Stealer as well. So you can just feel how confident Fnatic are in this game. Again, it's a 3-1-1 push at the moment because this top inhibitor is exposed. They are so close to knocking it down. You see Vitality have to send so many members to defend.
It also means that it denies that Kennen ultimate on multiple members again. By splitting up the map, by funneling everything into Vitality, they need to pick. You know, are we going to go for a pick, or are we going to try to flank the other 4 members? And they're picking neither. They're actually just watching themselves lose the game.
All 3 inhibitors are now set to fall. Baron buff still up for 45 seconds. I don't think Fnatic are going to go for the win here. Jizuke desperately trying to get something back, clear out a few of these minions. But Vitality on their last legs here already in game 2, only 26 minutes into the game.
You know, last game Vitality waited until all 3 inhibitors and both Nexus towers were down before they forced a fight. I'd really like to see them do it a little faster this game.
I unfortunately think that they've missed their window. So at this point, Vitality are saying, good news. We've got 3 farm lanes that will funnel into us, which means Tristana now has access to safe farm and hopefully can get to 3 items. Bad news, we're missing 3 of our inhibitors, and we have no control over the map. We can't go anywhere safely.
See, now if I'm Vitality, I'm like, good news, there's still game 3.
And that is incredibly disappointing for a team that was in sole control of second for so long in the split. When Schalke started to fall down, Vitality still stood near the top of the standings, but in these last few weeks, so many teams have risen up. Fnatic, one of them, OG as well, finding their place at the top of the standings. Fnatic securing 3rd in what was, for many, what felt like a miracle run towards the end of the split. Good news is that 3-item point is there, Frostgurn. Attila has, you know, the 75% crit chance. The energized attacks may be enough to reset in these fights, but they need to get something started in their favor.
And it is also nice that they do have a traditional tank. Mowgli, again, went for the Cinderhulk Gargoyle Stoneplate on the Jarvan, so a very true traditional tank, because Attila now needs to be able to fight front to back, and he needs Mowgli to create that zone and that space for him, and he needs to do it right about now.
Bwipo, though, now looking to push in for a bit more. There's a TP on the flank. Cabo Shard, it could all come down to this. One ultimate, but Mowgli's already almost dead. Cabo, where's he going to go? Flash forward, wants to get in on a Reckless, but he can't quite get into range. The stun is beautiful. It denies the engage, and Cabo, the entire team is going to get taken out here. But since Cabo Shard flashing forward, he will get the 1-for-1 trade. But no, in comes the ultimate from Karthus. Fnatic now trying to clean house. There's nothing left for Jizuke. He goes golden, but it's just a matter of time. The Skittle not going to be able to pop in. The flash does come out, but Fnatic setting their sights on the base. Vitality finding themselves caught against a wall. Fnatic absolutely dominating across both of these games. They are 1 win away from taking the series.
Fnatic are just rolling in and making it look easy. Time after time, Vitality can pressure them in the early game, but no, this team knows how to play the map. They take every single objective on the map before finally running it down for the Nexus.
And I actually like the adjustments that Vitality made to their composition. I love the fact that they picked up the Kennen, who gives them that side lane pressure, but also has teamfight utility. I love the fact that they had the late game insurance policy and the Tristana, as well as denying away from Reckless. But the problem then is not just the playstyle and the strategy that you're trying to execute, but the individual pieces trying to execute it. This is constantly individual player mistakes that are throwing the series away for Vitality.
Yeah, they were not macro mistakes, they were not draft mistakes. No, it was just those individual players. And that's sort of the hardest thing to talk about and fix going into the next game, because on one hand you say, sure, we just don't do that again. We don't, you know, mess up individually, and we should be in a good position to win that game. But on the other hand, there's no real change you can make.
And Fnatic as a team, of course, performing admirably, but Bwipo, I mean, this is just going to this reputation just continues to build, but this is a man who can tank so much pressure and remain relevant in the game. Last time, wondered, obliterate him. And admittedly, he was useless that game. But now we see Vitality try a similar strategy where they're willing to put him into the ground. They give the advantage pick to Cabo, but they can't get anything out of it. The Aatrox was still very relevant. The Gangplank in game 1 was still very relevant, and the Lucian just was invisible. So Vitality are just running out of options.
It goes back to this idea of responsibility, and it's really hard to, you know, look at a team like Fnatic and kind of figure out exactly what changed. You know, people want to see something big. You know, this guy used to feed, and now this guy carries, so obviously this is what made Fnatic better. But it's so much more intangible than that. Bwipo said it's about trust, and it's about responsibility and knowing what you need to do in your team comp, and that's exactly what it is. Bwipo knows what his responsibility is to Fnatic. Absorb the pressure, and I know that the rest of the map will be able to step up and to carry.
And it worked out so incredibly well for Fnatic here in game 2, but to get more insight on that game, let's head over to the analyst desk. Welcome back to the LEC Spring Playoffs, where it is do or die for Vitality. Their road to Rotterdam could end here as Fnatic are on match point. Game 1 was close in the early game. Individual missteps cost Vitality. In Game 2, it was the same story, and we have to wonder, for the sake of Vitality fans, if that story is going to change as we approach Game 3.
And fun fact is that Vitality are now on blue side, so theoretically the draft should dramatically change. At least I would hope so. I did like the adaptations that Vitality made from Game 1 to Game 2, you know, putting Cabo Shard on the likes of the Kennen, having more teamfight utility, but now I think it's like, this is your Hail Mary. Like, if you've got the weird picks, start bringing it out, because Urgot's been completely missing from these drafts. Kayle has been completely missing. Like, there are options to reach for.
Yeah, we were sort of confused a little bit coming into these drafts because some of the champions we thought were maybe going to define the playoffs just did not go seen, whereas, like, we've seen Hecarim banned 2 times. That was a blue side ban from the side of Fnatic. So now, where does that fall into the grand scheme of things? This Karthus pick, do Vitality want it themselves, or do they just take it off the board?
Big question, of course, as we head into our 3rd game. And, of course, 9.6 still very young. This is only, you know, the 2nd game. Now the 3rd game we'll see on this patch. Maybe there is more to be learned about this patch. Kayle, Urgot maybe could show up here as Vitality's back is most certainly against the wall.
But I love the fact that you bring up the Karthus ender, because you and I were kind of talking between the games that Vitality probably love the fact that Broxah is on Karthus. I mean, it is definitely hurting them in this game, and it looks very clear as if you were like, get rid of this champion, do something about it. But theoretically, would you rather Broxah be on a champion that does nothing for the early game and gives Mowgli just free run? Or would you rather Broxah be on something that's hyper proactive and in your face?
Probably not the hyper proactive and in your face if you are on the side of Vitality, but after losing to it 2 times in a row, they have made the decision to remove. And I think that with Vitality coming over to the blue side, they maybe feel less pressure to ban away some specific champions on red and are now looking specifically for the 2 champs that have worked for Fnatic this series.
And that is the Karthus and the Lissandra. Now for Fnatic, still banning away the Draven. We still see the Hecarim taken off the board, the Rakan taken away from Hylissang as well, but a lot of engage options taken away, a lot of safe picks taken away, and of course the clutch Karthus off the board as well.
And speaking slightly to this Rakan ban, because we have seen it so much, I think it is worth pointing out that the Xayah has been so good on this patch, big buffs to the attack speed on the W, that removing Rakan makes the pairing a little worse.
But I do want to talk about the champion that slipped through Fnatic's bans, which have been consistent this entire series so far, Draven, Hecarim, and Jace. This time around, now leaving it open, this is a very easy pickup for Cabo.
Yeah, Cabo Shard feels so comfortable on this champion, and Vitality love to have him on something that can dominate in the 1v1. But the problem is, that has not worked for them so far in this series. Fnatic leaving it open, it almost feels like have Vitality right where they want them.
And the thing that we saw in Game 2 that we liked was getting a top lane pick for Cabo that could impact the team fights more. Now, Jace with the lead is, of course, a disgusting champion, but in an even game, this guy is not a team fighting threat. He is a solo lane terror, no doubt, but if it comes down to team fights and engages once again, this is going to be even harder for Vitality, while Fnatic have gotten that priority Braum that they haven't been able to get their hands on yet.
Now, thinking here, I say maybe they lock into Lucian with the Braum. It's a very strong 2v2 pairing, but the way Fnatic have been playing these games is not by attacking Vitality in the early game, especially with their laners. Instead, they look more towards the scaling option, which is where the lock-in of the Rek'Sai changes this, because Rek'Sai can take over and dominate the early game.
And the reality is that when you see the likes of a Jace, a Braum is a very safe pickup because he can deny a lot of that damage or help absorb it if there is a group up factor where Jace is throwing these Qs into Braum shield.
But now we see the Jinx and the Thresh rounding this out, so a bit more playmaking potential, a bit more roam potential for Jack Troll if he does want to leave this lane, as well as another hyper-scaling carry option on the side of Attila.
It's also really safe, long-range wave clear. If Jizuke also picks up someone who can side lane, we know that that's exactly where Cabo Shard wants to be. It's so easy for Attila and Jacktroll to execute on Jinx Thresh in that mid lane to just absorb all of the farm and stall out for his sides.
Exactly. The Lantern, a very good tool as well to keep the low mobility AD carry in the Jinx safe. But looking at how these first 3 picks have come in, I want to take back a little bit of what I've said about this Jace, because I don't think it's worked so far for Vitality having the strong top laner in this series. Yet the side of Fnatic doesn't have a lot of hard engage. When you think Braum and you think Rek'Sai, you think decent supplementary CC, but these aren't the champions that are really going to start the fight, and that's why Fnatic work in the Sivir for themselves, but now they need something out of the top lane from Bwipo to get fights going, because their answer so far this series has been Nemesis on Lissandra, but with that banned away, it becomes much harder to force the 5v5s.
And interesting to see as well what the mid lane matchup is going to look like. We now see that now the Lissandra cannot be priority picked early. We do see the little Blanc being taken off the board, limiting some of the options Suzuki can bring to the table. Yamato sitting very close, very cozy, trying to set this up, keeping it casual, keeping the boys, you know, comfortable heading into a very high-pressure Game 3.
And Yamato's the type of coach that, you know, when push comes to shove, when the pressure is really on his team, he goes to his players and he says, what is the comfort pick? What do you want to play? What do you trust that you can execute on? Because Jack Troll previously got so much shade for the likes of his Thresh, but in the high-pressure game when it counts, Jack Troll, you feel confident to play Thresh? Take it. Jizuke, what do you need? What power can I help give you? And
that's the question. What is Jizuke on? What is Mowgli on? Because the mid-jungle 2v2, I think, is actually very pivotal.
We're going to have to hold that thought, because there she is, ladies and gentlemen, the Kale. We've experienced her in solo queue. Now we get to see her on the LEC stage.
And in between the break, we were wondering, what is the Kale going to be? Is she going to be in the game? And if a team is going to pick her, it has to be Fnatic. Now, she can go mid lane or top lane. Bwipo and Nemesis have both played here, but on the other side of things, it is such a strong mid-jungle 2v2. That was the question. They answered with Gragas Yasuo.
What do you want to play? I want to play Yasuo, coach. Sign me up.
Oh, man. What do they give to Bwipo now? It looks like Sion going into the top lane.
It's the hard engage that they needed. Fnatic, they needed some way to start off fights, especially in the mid to late game, because they have so much scaling on their side. Sivir plus Kale is absolutely monstrous in the 5v5 team fights, and if they can get to level 16 for Kale to 3 items on this Sivir, Fnatic are going to be in a good spot.
But that's if they can get there. Like you're saying, they have all of the tools that, hey, Vitality, they've been trying to attack us in the lane phase. Even when they get these incremental advantages, they are unable to snowball, unable to capitalize. We can wait this one out, boys. Worst case scenario, just drive this 3-0 home. Whereas on the other side, Vitality throw it all down. You know, this is when you leave the blood on the court. You've got Cabochard's Jace. You have Gragas and Yasuo. You have Jinx and Thresh. You have everything that you need to be successful.
But on the opposite side, for Fnatic, if Vitality struggle again, if they misstep, if they make mistakes, Fnatic's team is terrifying in the late game. They need to win. They need to win pretty quickly. Windwall is going to be their saving grace, but I don't know if it's going to be enough against the likes of a Sivir and a Kale as we move later into the game. And for the first time, a true frontliner from Bwipo to make sure that champions like the Yasuo struggle to execute in these team fights.
And you also asked the question, like, Vitality on their side, how do they get Cabochard ahead? How can they win that side lane matchup? Well, they can win early, but eventually Sion is just going to be so tanky, and they've really struggled to deal with Bwipo on the day. Questions have been asked. Now it's time for them to be answered as Fnatic, they look for the 3-0, and Vitality have to stay alive.
Ladies and gentlemen, once again, it is do or die for Vitality. Win here, move up. A chance to go to Rotterdam. It does indeed start here, and it very well could end here for Vitality. If Fnatic have anything to say about it, on the cusp of a 3-0, on extending their win streak to 11 games, Fnatic dominance could very well be the story of the day.
The crowd can taste it. I assume Fnatic the same, but let's take a moment and let's focus in on Kale. This is the first time that we've seen her in the LEC. She has been played over in the LPL as well as the LCK, two mixed bags of success. And the key thing that you need to understand with this champion is that she is gated by levels. So much of her power comes with her passive at level 6, level 11, and level 16. You can keep track of it. When she's got a lot of wings, she is absolutely terrifying.
But the key distinction to make is, while in most games it's level 1, 6, 11, 16, when you take Kleptomancy, there's a very low % chance that you can roll the elixir of skill. Her passive actually states it's not what level you are, it's how many skill points you have invested. So Nemesis with the Kleptomancy wants to get that elixir of skill so he can get his true damage on every auto attack at level 15 or become ranged at level 10, and that's what is so strong about this combo.
And you can see the pattern here in the bottom corner of your screen. Of course, the longer Kale stays in combat, the more attack speed she gets. Level 1, yeah, not too scary. It gets a little scarier at level 6, and by the time you get to level 11, once you are a ranged champion, truly terrifying. Level 16, the final breakpoint is murder. And that's the only way to describe it.
The magic number that you're looking for is 5. She needs 5. Now, a lot of people will take Conqueror on Kale in solo queue because they like the idea of you stack up the Conqueror when you start stacking up all of those auto attacks, get that attack speed, get that splash damage, get that true damage. But The crit build is what I expect to come out from Nemesis here, because you can actually crit on the true damage splash.
Exactly. Typically what you see the Kales go for in their build path is very similar to a Corki, where you go for the first item, Trinity Force, just because basically everything on that item she appreciates. It's 20% CDR, which is very important for proccing your E multiple times in fights, but also attack speed, the Sheen proc, valuable as well, and the Phage just keep running and keep people inside of your auto attack range. And then you go into the crit with the Rapid Fire Cannon and the Infinity Edge.
And the other really important thing, and I've seen this happen a lot in solo queue, your ultimate is not there to make you Tryndamere. You cannot, you're locked out of your auto attack when you're in the ultimate. It's to put onto your tank someone like a Sion and let them engage and be invulnerable, and then to start stacking up all of your power.
Well, as we focus on the KO, we'll wait till she has a few more levels under her belt to get back on the topic. For now, Jizuke doing what he can to keep pressure up in this lane. You can see a very heal-centric build coming in from Jizuke. Has both the fleet footwork as well as domination secondary for some additional healing. Mowgli doing what he can to keep this lane pushing forward. And one of the first times we've seen Mowgli not immediately playing around the top side of the map.
Instead, playing to sort of counteract the enemy jungler. Broxah was briefly spotted on a ward placed in the river. You can see the debris right there, and Mowgli instead says, I'm going to come to the bottom side. I know Broxah cleared his whole red side, and maybe look for some pressure on the mid lane, because Nemesis is out of mana. It has to play very far back in this lane. Yasuo has the ability to engage on him very quickly, and that can make it difficult, especially when he's running the teleport up against Jizuke's Ignite.
Jizuke, of course, getting an early level advantage could be huge. It has the tornado now stacked up, flashing backwards. Use the tornado for the double knockup. Now needs to dash through. Jizuke looking for another creep to get out the wind wall. Not going to be useful. First blood dropping for Broxah.
Yeah, Jizuke actually did play that well once the engage came in, but bottom lane's going very aggressive, getting heated. Jizuke had to flash before Broxah pulled off his flash. He was able to do it and bait the summoner out of Broxah, but unfortunately not able to create enough distance to survive.
And now, of course, the Kale even more terrifying. The longer she gets to spend in this lane, the more experience she can get, the stronger she's going to get, and faster. Accelerating that timeline is a terrifying prospect, but for now, it's Attila who has to be scared, flashing away from the boomerang blade of Reckless, and already Vitality's bot lane not off to a great start.
Just playing that one on a knife edge, very well done from Jack Troll to keep Attila alive, but if he didn't flash, that's Reckless proccing the Winter's Bite and then connecting probably twice with the boomerang blank. He would have deleted Attila.
Yeah, and the Fnatic bottom lane using so many summoners to make that happen and really putting the pressure down on towards Attila. There's only the exhaust up on the side of Hylissang, but Attila can use the TP to just get back into lane and ignore the damage he just took in the trade.
And that's why you see the confidence from Reckless and Hilly to play that so aggressively, knowing that they have that battle summoner of the heal kind of in the back pocket versus the TP. They can stay more into these extended all-in fights.
Now notice Mowgli picked up the Predator Boots on his first back and actually just popped them very early on while he was in his jungle, potentially looking for a play around the bottom lane. But actually more importantly, this is something we see when you take it a little bit slower out of the jungle, just to get him onto the map faster so he can clear away the camps, and knowing he probably wasn't going to use that anyways with how much pressure his bottom lane was taking.
And now checking in after what was a lot of early game action, seeing about a 500, 600 gold lead for Fnatic here in the early game, taking control across multiple lanes. Now Cabo, someone we talk about almost every time, but this time around going up against a take, it's not quite as interactive as it once was. Jace will continue to stack up Klepto, will continue to build a gold lead, but it's not going to amount to a whole lot of tower pressure with Sion clearing the wave, and of course, Summoner Spellbook available if he wants to go for a more aggressive play.
I think it's also making sure that he has more access to not just Summoner Spell options, but having that flash available more often than not, having lower cooldowns on the Summoner. Kind of interesting that he didn't go for something like Grasp.
Yeah, not having the grass, can't really proc it relatively easily in that lane.
Not against Jace.
Oh my goodness.
Hook landing, multiple points of action on the map. We've got our eyes on Cabo Shard. Knockup is going to come down, and Bwipo grabbing the kill after being ignored for 2 games. This time he's getting a bit of attention.
But that's what you can do on the Rek'Sai. He loops around, not seen by the control ward that Cabo Shard had put down. And this top lane pick is so strong in the 1v1, but so susceptible to ganks. And because he used the TP earlier, he's going to miss out on an entire minion wave. This is brutal.
I mean, but the big winner is Mowgli. The fact that this is a level 5 Gragas that now gets pretty much a whole wave to himself in the experience means he's that much closer to level 6, and that's going to be the big unlock point for Jizuke. So we'll see if Vitality, in the long run, can do something with this.
Yeah, because the mid-jungle 2v2 is very important on the side of Vitality. That being said, Broxah has already hit level 6 of his own, and just clearing away wards inside of the river can maybe look to pressure on towards this bottom lane that was previously pushing up, or make a play on the red buff. He saw the timer on the respawn and knows that he is so strong in any fights around this buff and inside the jungle.
Ooh, and just a difficult spot right now for the Vitality bot lane as well. Jizuke now trying to extend the play. Of course, ultimate is up and available for Nemesis, but the Tornado is going to miss, and Bwipo is on the way down, ready to make a play if necessary. No ultimate available, though, does mean he has to back off. Jizuke still feeling confident, of course, in this lane matchup. Kayle a little bit more terrifying at level 6 if she can get to the max stacks, but hold that thought because Attila has died on the bottom side. Huge confidence play coming with the Fnatic bot lane. We're going to need a replay of that one.
Yeah, that was just a straight two-man tower dive right there, and Fnatic had hardly any summoner spells. It was just an exhaust there to lock down Attila, and now with Jack Troll having nowhere to go in the bottom lane, he walked mid lane, was maybe looking for a play, but can't make it happen, and Vitality come up with nothing.
Jack Troll looking for the hook, is going to find it. This could be huge now, knocking him back. The chain CC has to be perfect if they want to deny the ultimate. Kayle comes down, Divine Judgment, knocked back. A beautiful flash from Nemesis to take him to safety.
Yeah, that's the flash that saves his life right there. Good roam from Jack Troll. I like the fact that he's got eyes, he's trying to make something happen for Jizuke, but frankly, because Attila died in this bottom lane 2v1, because Cabochard has also died in his lane, there's just no options for Mowgli and how he wants to attack the map.
Yeah, that was actually really poorly played from Attila. He stayed for the zap right next to a melee minion, which meant that Braum can just leap on forward, and without a flash on the Jinx, there's absolutely nowhere that champion can go. A massive mistake again here from Vitality, who continue to be punished just as an individual member.
And for so long last year, it felt like individual prowess was the story of Vitality, making these big plays, finding these impossible 2v1 outplays. We saw it in Jizuke's rise, and this year, in this playoff match, the story thus far in all 3 of our games has been individual mechanical mistakes, and it's a shame to see from a team that was for so long at the top of the table.
I mean, it's just devastating to see Vitality continue to crumble like this. Hopefully, with the time that they've spent in the league, you know, maybe you see some more of that maturity coming out of what is a very young squad still, and rally themselves in this final game to put up a fight against Fnatic. Because these first 2 games, you know, some light spots, especially in the early game, have frankly just felt like you're watching Vitality lose the game.
It's been tough because Vitality have constantly played well early on, but then faltered, and now they're not actually finding those proactive plays. They need Mowgli to make this play happen. There's no flash, no ultimate on Nemesis. All it takes is one ultimate, but Mowgli does not have that spell available. And when you look at the Fnatic team and you see all that scaling on the other side, you feel like the clock is always ticking, and you need to force.
Good news, of course, is that Cabochard gets closer and closer to the Black Cleaver. Huge item break point for the Jace on the top side up against the Scion. Mowgli now stepping over, but is going to walk face first into Broxah. Will get spotted out here, can try to steal a camp away, but Broxah is going to win the Smite War, and for now they're just going to set their sights on tower plating. Bwipo with no mana means that they can push up pretty comfortably on that top side.
No mana on Bwipo, and also Jizuke with massive priority here, walking in towards this Fnatic jungle. And there's so many control wards actually to set up this movement to buy Cabochard time to chip away at the turret plates. And you can see Jizuke doesn't actually lose anything for this play because no minions were lost. The wave had been pushed very easily by him, and it gives him that opportunity to get a big win for the top side of the map.
Now we check in on the itemization. However, I mentioned Black Cleaver earlier. We're both going for the Righteous Glory, but most importantly, the Kayle, a new champion for many of our viewers, for us as well, and competitive. We do see the Blade of the Rune King appears to be the first itemization choice.
That's something we see just for a little bit more survivability in the laning phase. I hold my breath because Nemesis is in trouble.
Knocked back immediately, and the Oswald going to come out, but now Jizuke is in the midst of the entire team. Nemesis pulling back. They might look for the re-engage to find more. Already the knockup going down in the Bwipo. He's trying to lock his target down, wants to bite. He's going to get the ultimate coming out. Jizuke can't flash that one. No option to do it. Broxah getting another Fnatic with the turnaround here in the mid lane.
And it's all Broxah. He does so much damage. They're just diving. What?
Oh, no. This is an absolute slaughter. Ultimate going to be used from Attila there, but still the stopwatch is clutch as Hylissang will manage to survive.
And it's Reckless and Hilly having the confidence to make a play like that. It's Broxah, round 2.
Is he going to go for anything else?
Bye-bye.
3-0-2 on Rek'Sai.
We wanted to see if Vitality could show us signs of life. A new draft, a new side selection. We thought maybe this was going to be it, but Fnatic just gets stronger and stronger over the course of this series. Every single lane is starting to win on its own outside of top lane, and that is disastrous for Vitality.
But it's also showing that Fnatic aren't just here to sit back and to scale. You know, they don't just want to play this one out slowly and say, we'll see you at 20 minutes. It's the fact that if you give them an opportunity, they will attack you in the lane phase. This is Hilly and Reckless going to the wall right now, diving Attila and Jack Troll multiple times. Anytime they get information about where Mowgli is, they are punishing the fact that their jungler isn't there to save Vitality.
Now look at this. Nemesis actually had time for his ultimate to come back up, so he's able to sort of kite back now, and Broxah does so much damage. The Conqueror is fully stacked. He gets a true damage bite onto Jizuke. Remember, you can't flash that guy, so don't even try. And then Mowgli, without any spells, just loses the fight. That is where Conqueror becomes so strong in the extended trades. But bottom lane, I don't even know what to say.
I mean,
Great use of the stopwatch.
Jack Troll found the flight, so maybe they're assuming, okay, we're under the tower anyway, we're taking it, we have to go all in, and they've got the stopwatch so you can look for the dive. This is just the cherry on top.
And the thing that a lot of people forget about is just the sheer amount of burst damage that Sivir can have if you tank the full Boomerang Blade, but now, gonna move forward, they're trying to back off, and it looks like at the end of the day, Bwipo may give his life, but they used Rift Herald there in that exchange, and the channel was canceled, so Bwipo's going to go down, but trades his life for that cooldown, can clear the wave with the zombie form of Sion as well, and Vitality cannot be happy with that exchange.
And now it's a race of who's going to get the first tower, but it's Fnatic with a very healthy lead. Reckless, you can see standing behind the tower, waiting for the minion wave, and it will be Fnatic who strike first.
Fnatic getting everything on the map, up 4.6 thousand gold. Let's just go ahead and make that 5K here as they take the turret. Vitality trying to respond on the top side, but notice they take it so quickly that they're still applying pressure. They dominate this bottom quadrant of the jungle. Bwipo, again, is able to absorb pressure, TP's back top, and now they're just going to look to dive mid.
Oh, Jizuke tried to go in, saw Nemesis stepping under tower, but the entire team is now on the way. He's getting the reset on the passive, but it is simply not enough. Broxa now on a rampage. Fans wondered in game 2, why give him the Karthus again? And it's because if you give him an early game jungler, he is going to make an impact.
Fnatic played the slow and steady game 2 times in a row. Vitality couldn't deal with it. They had to change things up, but that meant giving Broxa the Rek'Sai. Once again, here we go. It's a dive top.
Bwipo so incredibly tanky. Broxa now just going to step forward, walking this kill down, knocked back, but Bwipo going to be able to back away in the end. The ulti comes out. Broxa grabs another one. Mowgli is going to be able to grab the shutdown. Hylissang now caught under the tower. Mowgli going to do what he can to delete this wave, but they're stepping forward to grab a bit more. Broxa unstoppable. 3 stacks, looking for the 4th, but we're going to try to step forward, the flash forward to keep it going. They don't really have the damage for this one, but Hylissang just hits him with it anyway.
Calm down, buddy. You're not getting that kill. Vitality actually trying to respond. Notice Jack Troll on the flank, but his Moby Boots were canceled by the Wolf Camp that I think Attila aggroed. They're trying to make the play, but the
cast coming out to disengage in the end, though.
It's the wall. Braum is such a good counter in towards the Gragas. You throw up the shield, and then Jack Troll gets baited for the dive.
The hook now landing him back, but he's going to give his own life for this exchange. The rocket comes in. Maybe they're going to be able to grab 2 in the end. That's something given back with the TP now coming in. Combo shard here as well. Nemesis level 11. The KO is ranged. Jizuke ready to turn this fight. Bwipo will die in the zombie form in the end, and Cabo may look to extend the play here. Nemesis, Divine Judgment available. He's going to use the ultimate in just a second, trying to get a bit more damage down. Knocked away to stop that from coming through. And Vitality desperate to extend this play to get a little bit more here.
The only devastating thing is the fact that it was Mowgli that picked up that double kill right there. This could be a completely different game if it's Jinx that's getting those big kills and is able to snowball herself into the Infinity Edge.
I agree with you 100%, but if there has been a player on Vitality that has consistently been performing well this series, it has been Mowgli. His early games have been good. He's finally on a champion that is dealing damage. I say, yes, it's not ideal, but give him what you have. He now has the Sorc shoes as well as the Runic Echoes. Deal some damage, blow people up with the Gragas Yasuo combo. That's all you've got.
And now we take a look at those turret plates, and this tells you the story of the early game. 11-4, so much gold in the pocket of Fnatic, massive lead, but honestly,
that is just sad.
You know you're going to die for that play, but it's a huge difference maker. Stops a lot of gold going to the pocket, and this is a very fed Rek'Sai.
Yeah, but notice Cabochard actually plays this well. He flashes away from the knockup. He's still going to get caught out here at the end, but it means Brox has to tank way too much. Shutdown goes on over to Mowgli on top of the double kill he got later on, so he's actually very, very fed at the moment. Just not when you see that Fnatic have taken all the other plates on the other side of the rift.
There's that wolf camp you were talking about. That means that Jack Troll can't get there in time. Does manage to get it, but it means that he has to tank the tower aggro, which means that they're able to trade at least 1 for 2.
Yeah, it's a pretty big difference maker, because if that fight just happens a little bit over towards the left, you can make it happen, but Fnatic, they've been making it happen all game.
And Nemesis now continuing to push forward. Maybe look for a little bit more damage here once 5 stacks get it kicked off. But the knockup now going to come through. Windwall going to block everything, but Nemesis just walks right past it and finds his kill. Absolutely brutal. And, you know, every game it seems like Vitality, maybe they've got an avenue back in, but every game Fnatic are more and more dominant. 16 minutes into the game, an 8K gold lead backing them up now.
And, you know, there's a conversation at the top of the day. Who is the strongest team heading into playoffs? You have this monster, you know, G2 and Origin that are sitting in that upper bracket right now, but Fnatic are entering on a massive win streak. They were practically undefeated in the second half of the LEC, only dropping a single game to SK, and now they have this type of form against Vitality. This doesn't look hard for them. This isn't even breaking a sweat.
Yeah, it just looks so easy, and the one game they dropped was the first game of the second half. They have since won their last 10 games in a row, including the 2 today, are on pace to win the 11th. And you wonder, this team can play late game, they can play early game. Broxah has looked like an absolute unstoppable force out of the jungle. What can't this team do? How high can they go?
Bwipo, though, now in trouble. Kayle now coming down. Ultimate could just be used on Bwipo to keep him alive, and it will be. Cabochard now going to find himself in trouble. The stacks are going to come in for the Kayle. Once he gets those flame waves, it's going to be so much harder. You can see Mowgli taking so much damage in the exchange, and the On the Hunt has been used. Predator, I don't know if it's going to be enough. Hylissang throws out the ultimate. No trace for Mowgli. If he steps back, he dies. If he steps forward, he gets hit. Now trying to run as Broxah flashes forward, gives the kill to Reckless, goes under, comes right back up, and Nemesis on a rampage.
Fnatic are just going to keep pushing right here. They have minion waves. Vitality just looked completely out of sorts. They try to once again bully Bwipo in the side lane, but Fnatic are having absolutely none of it.
And it was the credit to make sure that when they approached the tower that they grabbed the aggro instead of the minion wave, which I believe only had 2 minions on it, so that they could push through like this. Now they've got the full minion wave very fresh behind them, and it's the difference between not getting a tower and getting an inhib tower on that decision to just say, I've got the aggro, guys.
Look, Fnatic's early game in the second half of the split was so good. Spearheaded by Broxah, they actually had more impressive stats in the early game. In the second half, Hylissang gets on out of there. Jacktal's really trying to catch him.
And desperately running forward, but there's not a lot of damage here. Nemesis is going to cut through him, but the ultimate now coming in. We'll be able to finish it off with the help of Jinx, but it's a 1-for-1 trade. Cabo steps forward, it's a very strong Kayle. It does get taken down. Nemesis on the edge of death. He's going to manage to live. He's going to manage to Attila flashes forward. Once the reset, takes a lot of damage, though. Out comes the ultimate. Bye to Attila. They still manage to find the turn.
That's just not even fair, guys. Brox is 7-1-7. Nemesis is 6-1-6. He flashes away from the barrel. These guys are out of control.
And what I was going to say is that Fnatic are doing this series, not breaking a sweat and not really showing anything, but now showing the power of the Kayle. We're going to see if this pick, if they decide to end it now, if they continue to rampage through playoffs, because this is 4 best-of-5s for Fnatic before they can go to the finals and possibly go to MSI. They've shown that, hey, Kayle probably need to watch out for it.
By the way, this Kayle, at 19 minutes, has 3 completed items, including a Ginsu's, which is not cheap. And you can see in this play, once again, it's like Hylissang walking in because they know just how strong Nemesis is, and Jacktal says, okay, with the rocket, we can get the kill. But just keep your eyes on Nemesis. What can this man do? He immediately explodes him right there, takes the damage, but not even, and then gets knocked back and flash the barrel. Boom. Made it look easy. Has to make Attila use his flash. That means Broxah can land 1 Q, 1 R, and then he's dead.
Yeah, and the shutdown, of course, good for the Jinx to have. But once again, this does just feel like the eulogy for Vitality's playoff run, as it is still a 10K gold lead. We're not even 20 minutes into the game, and a constant reminder why Fnatic have to be respected. Because let's be honest, start of the split, once again, things looked rough for this team. But historically, you can never count them out, and you can see why. 7 titles, Worlds finalists last year, MSI semifinalists. You can see exactly what this team has done in their history.
And you can't script an anime better than this. The one thing we're missing now is like the Vitality comeback to make it at least a close game. Make them work for it.
Zuke now going to try to find something, but Attila, they're going to interrupt the knock up there. That's going to be huge, but Attila's still going to get ulted out by Broxah. Broxah's going to look for the true damage. It's going to be a huge bite here. Doesn't even need it. Just use the Queen's Fury. Zuke now on the retreat does get the knock up. Nemesis just cutting through the team. Fnatic playing the team fights front to back, and it's too easy because Broxah can 1v1 anyone on the map right now. He's hunting for Mowgli. 2-level advantage. He chooses to back off in the end, respecting the AP of the Gragas, but going to wait. Just lurking under the ground, trying to find his prey.
Pack it up, boys. Right now, Nemesis and Broxah are both simultaneously trying to 1v5. It's 20 minutes in. The Baron is gone.
Oh, Hilly!
Jacktal's in trouble.
Nosy standing right next to the blast cone.
No.
Another sacrifice, a TP used onto the top side.
Mowgli died too.
The victory lap for Fnatic has been the story of Game 3. Domination from the start of the game. Broxah has been absolutely everywhere, and every single member of this team has an incredible scoreline.
I think the biggest problem Fnatic are facing right now is who actually gets MVP. That's it.
And you don't want to count a team out in a best of 5, but when you can do that,
really?
It just feels over. And
oh my, look, he's literally on the Nexus 1v3. He does not care.
The hook comes in. He's just going to keep it going. Does he get the chance to use the ultimate as well? He does. That's the double kill. Wants a few more. They're walking right into the fountain. They just keep feeding him. That's the Quadra. Is he going to get the penta? I cannot believe it.
Pentakill for Nemesis. The series is over.
And a reminder to all of Europe, Fnatic did not come into this split to compete. They came to dominate.
Well, Dracos, I think Nemesis answered my question. MVP goes to him.
Remember the name. It's no longer Fnatic Caps. Nemesis got thrown a lot of shade from the community early on. And yes, he gets the pentakill, so it looks really nice, but he was clean this entire series through. He has completely been one of the fundamental pieces that turned this around for Fnatic. His synergy with Broxa, his zone control for Reckless. This guy is a monster for playoffs.
I am just blown away at how clean this team looks. They completely turned things around. Every single player for Fnatic is just stepping up to the challenge. They make Vitality look like easy competition. They go 3-0 against them in very quick form, and now are looking to run all the way to Rotterdam.
Hilly flashed over the wall to hit the blast cone to knock Jack Troll into his team.
Supports for the win, baby.
But that's the confidence. That's the level that the Fnatic are just playing with their food.
And that was an issue. When you think back about the Fnatic bot lane for a long time, you didn't have that level of trust for Hylissang when he was willing to step forward and make these plays. But you see it in this game. Blippo mentioned trust already. And it just seems like if someone on Fnatic goes in, everyone else is ready to follow up.
And it's the thing that if we do focus down on Reckless and Hilly, this bot lane has always been very well respected in Europe, but not necessarily always for their laning prowess. We always knew that Reckless was a god-tier team fighting ADC, but now it's that full-on aggression. And yes, it is Attila, probably one of the weaker ADCs coming into this playoff race when you have the likes of Perks and Patrick also waiting up into the wings, Kabe also in Splice tomorrow. But at this point, Reckless is like, I'm still the king. You still must respect me.
Yeah, Reckless has been redefining how he plays, because prior it was the 3-item teamfight monster that gets a lot of pentakills. This split, it's been so much about the Lucian pick for him.
The Vayne pick for him.
The Vayne pick for him. Even here on the Sivir, they are just diving towers 2v2. That was not Broxa impacting bottom lane. It was just those two players popping off.
And that's the thing that we talked about at the start of the series that we felt like gave Fnatic such a huge edge, is that flexibility, because we saw Blippo carry for a few weeks. We've seen Reckless carry. Now we're seeing Nemesis carry on picks like this Kayle, and that's what's going to make this team so threatening in best of 5, because it's not best of 1 anymore. One strategy is probably not enough if there's anything that we've learned from Vitality's struggle today. But on the opposite side for Vitality, just a crushing way to end the season that started, honestly, pretty well for them.
Yeah, it's heartbreaking for Vitality, because they did look so good early on. They really did, find their stride early on in the split. But I think as it came down, push comes to shove, they really fell down. They looked like our second place team locked in, but they kept trying to play the style where it wasn't about the team fights. It was about the side lanes. While yes, the early games had been good, you can see up against a team like Fnatic and all these other teams rising, knowing how to play the team fights, Vitality just could not contest them.
And the question for me is kind of the ticking clock on Vitality and how quickly they can start to sync with Mowgli. Because Mowgli is very impressive with very high highs, but also really low lows. And it feels like a disconnect or a desync. The amount of time where he's not jungling, or he's actually just sitting in Cabochard's back pocket trying to force a gank, but no gank happens. It's cleaning up this relationship for Vitality to really come alive, and that needs to start in summer for this project to be successful and go to Worlds again.
Absolutely does, but sadly now we have to say goodbye to Vitality in the playoffs run. But the good news for Fnatic and Fnatic fans is that the way that Fnatic ended it today was spectacular. So in our Alienware big play, let's take a look back at this Kayle pentakill.
Oh, man. See, it was funny, too, because Nemesis just rolls straight on up here. He does not care. That's, 4 auto attacks? Probably more than he needed to there. Finishes off Jizuki as well, or zones him away, and then can walk right on in and just literally right-clicking. He's doing basically nothing, but he's so strong at this point in the game. The E execute damage also able to finish off the Jace, and the rest of the team, Blippo leading the charge, making it happen.
And it felt like Nemesis, the rest of Fnatic walked away from him and were taking the objective, and Nemesis is like, now we can end this right now.
Yeah, Nemesis literally just 1v5 that fight.
And I'm going to be honest, Kayle did not look that bad early game. Like, this champion looked like, admittedly, a lot of favorable Klepto procs, and yes, early game to go in favor, but when it came to early lane phase, Broxa puts a little bit of attention there, and suddenly Jizuke can't really play aggressive as this melee champion.
Yeah, so I think we can agree Kayle is definitely strong. This snowballed way out of control, and it came down to Broxa, because of Broxa that found the counter ganks around the mid lane that were able to sort of bridge the gap between level 1 and level 11 for Kayle, because Kayle wasn't getting a ton of kills until the range came through, and then she looked unstoppable.
Absolutely. And impressive that they were able to play that early game so well. Of course, as a reminder, in just a few minutes, we are going to be joined by Reckless in the post-game lobby. So if you want to hear his thoughts on the series, and Hylissang as well. So insight into what was a hyper-aggressive bot lane there on that third game and third game alone. But Blippo, Broxa, and Reckless are going to be your options for key player of the series. You can head over to @LOL Esports on Twitter and
It's
vote.
serious. It's serious. Calm down. It's serious.
They're missing Nemesis.
You can't put all 5.
It's actually, you can't put all 5.
It's okay.
No, but they're,
Don't flame the vote. Okay, guys, I personally, no bias, give it to Whippo. Because if there's one man who should have died like 20 more times than he did, might have been Whippo. but also potentially Broxa. And why would I say that? Because he's standing by for an interview with Lore, and I don't want him to be mad at me. Hi, Broxa.